Chapter 557. Suddenly, Qinya's painful howls stopped, and this caused Yihua's gaze to become serious. She gave birth? The door of the bedroom suddenly opened, and Qin Yutong walked out with a grave expression. Brother-in-law. What's wrong? Has your big sister given birth? Yihua asked excitedly. I didn't expect that there would still be something that would be able to make me nervous to such an extent. My big sister, she. While speaking, Qin Yutong's eyes turned red. Looking at Qin Yutong's appearance, Yihua immediately rushed into the bedroom, only to see that all of the women that were present were currently unceasingly transferring spiritual energy to Qinya, and Qinya was still lying on the bed with a big belly and was currently being enveloped by a dense spiritual energy. What's going on? Yihua shouted out, and red light could be seen flickering within his eyes. Wei Chang and the others felt that his honor's condition was very unstable, so they hurriedly rushed into the room. When they saw that his honor's wife was lying on the bed, and spiritual energy was being transferred to his honor's wife, all of them were a bit surprised. How did giving birth to a child end up like this? This shouldn't be happening. Dong Wang Baiji's expression was especially grave as she said gravely, Yihua, the child is absorbing Qinya's spiritual energy. Yihua went into a daze. Why is it like this? Yihua questioned angrily. Why would a good child absorb his mother's spiritual energy? Dong Wang Baiji said in a low voice, initially, I thought that it was only a legend, but who would have thought that it was actually true? When the child of the Nuwa clan is born, the child will absorb all of the spiritual energy in the mother's body, and then, the child will become the next Nuwa, and the mother will quickly age, and then. Dong Wang Baiji didn't finish her sentence. The price that the Nuwa clan had to pay for giving birth was a life for a life. It was just that they didn't expect it to be true, and they didn't take it to heart. They were too careless. However, Yihua had also underestimated the child's enormous bloodline power. Not only does the child possess Yihua's bloodline, the child also possesses mother's bloodline. When the two of them are added together, the amount of spiritual energy that the child can absorb will be even more enormous. Therefore, right now, I have to hurriedly transfer spiritual energy to Qinya, if not, the spiritual energy will be absorbed by the child. Of course, this was not the child's original intention. That was the child's bloodline. When the child saw his mother in so much pain, he wanted to bear the pain for his mother, but his body could not help but want to suck. Yihua took a deep breath, and a burst of golden light immediately emitted out from both of his hands. A huge amount of spiritual pressure was instantly emitted out, and the spiritual pressure immediately flowed into Qinya's body. With a flash of golden light, Qinya's furrowed brows gradually relaxed. But the golden radiance on Qinya's body was quickly disappearing, and Qinya wrinkled her brows once again. Everyone was shocked. This speed of absorption has already reached a terrifying degree, even his honor's technique is being absorbed. Wei Chang and the others who were standing at the back were in disbelief. Just what kind of child is the little honor in your wife's stomach? This is too terrifying. Yihua was unwilling to give up. Immediately, a golden light condensed on his left hand, while his right hand emitted out green and blue colors that were intersecting with each other. However, Yihua's gaze tensed up, and he actually fused the golden light into the ball of strange colors that was on his right hand. Immediately, 3 different colors emerged from the ball of strange colors, and everyone could immediately feel a ferocious spiritual energy being emitted out from the ball of strange colors. Wei Chang immediately isolated the inside of the room from the outside. Yihua pushed the strange thing in his hand towards Qinya's body. Pooh! 3 different colors covered Qinya's delicate body like a cloud of smoke. Qinya's expression gradually smoothed out, as if she had gotten some relief. However, Wei Chang and the others who were at the back were very surprised. Could it be that his honor is unable to solve the problem? He could only ease the situation? Yihua's gaze was like a torch as he stared fixedly at Qinya who was on the bed and the child in her stomach. How did this happen? The fusion of Nuwa's bloodline and my bloodline is actually this terrifying. There is actually no way to control it, and the only thing I can do is to slow down the speed of it being absorbed. In this world, there are actually things that I, the Supreme Overlord, am unable to do. This kind of effect was already out of Yi Hua's control. The fusion of the two bloodlines was very terrifying. Fortunately, Dongwang bloodline wasn't so tyrannical that it had to absorb the mother's spiritual energy in order to obtain the inheritance. Not right. There are still a lot of medicinal pellets in my storage ring. Yi Hua. Qinya, who was on the bed, shouted out weakly. Her slender hand slowly raised up, and her pair of beautiful eyes looked at the man who was in a panic. This was the first time that Qinya saw Yi Hua being in such a panic. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched, seemingly wanting to laugh and properly console Qinya. However, he was unable to laugh at all. It's fine, eat the medicine, it will be fine very soon. Yi Hua took out the God Essence pill, Life Continuing pill, 9 firmaments Heaven Nourishing Dew, and so on. However, these things could only serve to slow down the speed of it, and were unable to solve the problem. After Qinya obediently ate the medicine, she felt much more comfortable. Yi Hua, no matter what, you have to protect our child, do you understand? I only have this one request. Right now, Qinya looked very weak, her pair of beautiful eyes had lost their former color, and even more so, her pair of beautiful eyes were filled with firm pleading. Just now, when Yi Hua came in, Qinya's face was as white as a piece of paper. Yi Hua had been baptized by blood for so many years, and he had never been afraid before. Right now, he was really afraid that he would lose Qinya. Yi Hua looked at Qinya's big belly and remained silent. Right now, I can only protect one, it's either big or small. Looking at her husband's hesitant gaze, Qinya's heart ached. In actuality, she knew what the situation was, but for the sake of the child, Qinya was willing to make a sacrifice. Which mother in this world doesn't love their child? Yi Hua, I have always been unwilling to listen to you, then let me not listen to you for the last time, alright. Yi Hua held on to Qinya's hand that had lost its color and said gravely, don't say any more, I will have a way. You are only allowed to listen to me for the rest of your life, I will be in charge of your matters. This little bastard, if he comes out, I will definitely beat him to death. Yi Hua, that is our child, you can't beat him. Qinya smiled weakly, and the oppressive atmosphere in the room lessened a bit. Suddenly, the colorful mist that was revolving around Qinya was once again absorbed by the little bastard, and the speed at which the little bastard was absorbing the colorful mist was so fast that it left one speechless. Yi Hua, is there any other way? This can't go on. Dong Huang Baiji shouted out anxiously. The little bastard's absorption speed is too fast. This little bastard is too scary. Dong Huang Li, who was standing at the side, was crying. She slowly walked to the side of the bed and said lightly, little brother, don't absorb Mommy Qing's mist anymore. If you want to absorb, then absorb big sister's mist. Dong Huang Li's words caused the little fellow to slightly calm down, and the little bastard's absorption speed slowed down a bit. Yi Hua scratched onto his hair, appearing to be very irritated. Your Honor, I have an idea. Zhu Tian suddenly stood out and said. Speak. Zhu Tian said gravely, Your Honor, do you still remember Sovereign Fa Lian? Yi Hua's gaze became focused as he shouted out, Speak clearly. Chapter 558. Because back then, Paragon Fa Lian was one of the people who organized that battle. In Yi Hua's heart, he didn't want Paragon Fa Lian to die so easily. However, now that Qinya has encountered such a matter, I have to make a trip over. Yi Hua took out a scepter from his storage ring. This was the spacetime scepter. As the name suggested, it was a weapon that could control time. Although it wasn't anything good, it was very useful right now. Yi Hua swung his hand, and the space scepter floated above Qinya's body. Immediately, the scepter emitted a faint blue radiance, which enveloped Qinya within it. Qinya's pained expression stopped. This wasn't relief, it was the scepter that stopped the thing in the bed. However, this pause was not permanent. The spacetime scepter was gradually withering away. It seemed like the spacetime scepter was a weapon that had a life of its own. This was also the reason why Yi Hua had kept it by his side all this while. As expected, it was still put to use. You all stay here and guard this place properly. If anyone gets close to this place, kill them without mercy. Yihua shouted out coldly. The subordinates immediately bowed and shouted, "We will obey His Honor's command." Yihua's figure disappeared from the room. Yihua went to get the things and settle the accounts by himself. The women stopped transferring their spiritual energy to Donghuang Baiji, and Donghuang Baiji asked curiously, "Who is this sovereign alien?" Wei Chang heaved a sigh of relief and said in a low voice, "He is a person of virtue and prestige, good and evil are decided by him." The people of the 7 deadly sins all knew the situation, but those who didn't were very puzzled. Wouldn't it be too dangerous for Yihua to go alone? Donghuang Baiji asked worriedly. Brett shook his head, "No, it's Sovereign Feilane who is too lucky." The few women didn't understand what Brett meant, but Donghuang Baiji felt that Yihua and Sovereign Feilane had some sort of relationship. From Brett's words, Yihua didn't plan to let Sovereign Feilane off, but because of Qinya's matter, Yihua's plan was spoiled. That was why it was said that Sovereign Feilane was lucky, not dying under the disdain of the people of the world. Yuan Tian Peak. This was a world of nothingness, but in this nothingness, there stood a huge mountain. The size of the mountain was astonishing, as if it covered the entire world of nothingness. At the foot of the mountain, one had to zoom in a few hundred times to see a tiny figure. The stream was like a silver thread. If one were to take a closer look, it would be a huge silver waterfall. A person standing beside it would seem very small. There were people on every level of the mountain, but they seemed so insignificant. Even a small stone had millions of lives and countless sections. And at the top of the mountain lived the peak master of the Yuan Tian Peak, Sovereign Feilane. This world of nothingness was created by him, and every sovereign had this kind of strength. However, back then, Hong Tai was still a relatively weak sovereign, and did not have the ability to create such a world of nothingness. At the top of the mountain, there were no luxurious palaces or splendid residences. There were only ordinary wooden courtyards surrounded by wooden fences. Although it didn't look fancy, the people who squatted in the toilet at the top of Yuan Tian Peak were still very impressive. On the edge of the cliff at the edge of the mountain, an old man sat among the clouds. In front of him was an ordinary zither, and on his right was a cup of steaming hot tea. This old man was Paragon Feilane. His white silver hair hung down naturally, and although his face was wrinkled, he looked very intimidating, and no one dared to look straight at that face. Compared to that face that was filled with wrinkles, Paragon Feilane's hands were incomparably delicate, just like a woman's hands. Especially when he was playing the zither, his hands carried traces of charm. The mountain reverberated with the clear and melodious sound of the zither. The sound of the zither was like a gift from the heavens, bringing hope to the people below the mountain. This was Paragon Feilane's strength. While playing the zither, he was able to hear the joyful shouts of the people, as well as the whispers of service. 2 figures suddenly appeared in front of Paragon Feilane, knelt down respectfully, kowtowed, and shouted, "Teacher! Year 2, little fool, did you comprehend any great Tao in this trip to spiritual capital?" Paragon Feilane stopped playing the zither and slightly opened his eyes. Immediately, a ray of light shot out from his eyes, and he didn't dare to look at them at all. And this Year 2 and little fool were Paragon Feilane's disciples, the newly popularized overlords. What Yihua didn't know was that during the 5 years that he disappeared, another batch of newbies had advanced to the ranks of overlords. And this spiritual capital was a place that all of the deities yearned to go to. Heaven's mansion, that kind of place could only be considered as a small place, it couldn't be brought to the stage. Spiritual capital was the place where the deities gathered, that was the highest point of authority, that was the place that countless people yearned to go to. Teacher, disciple has benefited greatly. The 2 Year 2 shouted out respectfully. Paragon Feilane naturally disdained that kind of place. It is completely meaningless to go to that kind of place. After reaching this kind of realm, what one should be thinking about is how to go to the next level. Tell teacher about the interesting things that happened in spiritual capital. It has been a long time since I listened to them. Paragon Feilane picked up the teacup at the side and lightly blew on it. A delightful fragrance drifted out, and Paragon Fa Lien lightly leaned against the teacup. However, there was nothing behind him. Year 2 and Little Fool, outside, were two saints' titles, but in here, they were just Year 2 and Little Fool, that's all. Furthermore, the two of them looked like middle-aged men, and it was very strange for them to be addressed like this. However, the two of them didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction. After all, the person in front of them was their teacher, the powerful Paragon Fa Lien. Look at this origin sky peak, it was completely built by Master alone. Here, Master is a god. Next, Year 2 and Little Fool talked about the things that happened in spiritual capital, the gossip of the royal family, the disputes of various places. Paragon Fa Lien hummed a little tune as he listened to his disciple's story, and the corner of his mouth curled up. Looks like spiritual capital has been peaceful these few years. Everything is peaceful. How is Kanglo continent? Paragon Fa Lien asked indifferently. Little Fool said respectfully, since that battle 5 years ago, Master eliminated the head of evil, Kanglo continent has maintained a peaceful trend, but there are still some small battles. 5 years ago, that is really unforgettable. Paragon Fa Lien chuckled and took a sip of tea. Year 2 said respectfully, Master can deal with evil, that is following the will of the heavens. How can those evil people be Master's match? Year 2, there are laws in all Daos, remember this. Paragon Fa Lien called out. Disciple will remember this. Little Fool suddenly thought of something and said respectfully, Master, disciple recently heard that a branch of this deity was massacred. Oh. There is such a thing? Paragon Fa Lien sat up and put down the teacup in his hand. His expression was a little serious. Year 2 said, Master, this matter has shaken the royal family. Spirit Emperor has sent people to investigate. I believe there will be news soon. Chapter 559. A trace of doubt flashed past Supremacy Fa Lien's eyes. Speaking of extermination, Supremacy Fa Lien thought of that group of evil leaders. That group of evil leaders was their signature. Soon after, he laughed lightly. Since they were all exterminated by us, how could they possibly still be alive? Spirit Emperor is still suspecting if it was done by that group of people back then, Big Two said softly. After all, no one wanted to talk about that world-destroying battle. Many supremacies had fallen, that group of people was simply too powerful. Fortunately, Teacher joined hands with other powerful supremacies and killed all of them, and only then was Kanglo continent safe, returning peace to the world. Hearing what Big Two said, Supremacy Fa Lien was a bit displeased. That group of people was already killed by me. Even if the world is destroyed, they will not be able to return. However, just when Supremacy Fa Lien finished speaking, a black whirlpool appeared not far away. Supremacy Fa Lien and Big Two immediately looked towards the whirlpool and deeply wrinkled their brows. Which supremacy has come to pay a visit? Isn't this too impolite? This is trespassing into a forbidden area. Just when the three of them were feeling puzzled, a terrifying aura spread out from the whirlpool. The terrifying might caused Supremacy Fa Lien's expression to change, and Big Two was even more so suppressed by the might to the point that they couldn't even raise their heads. The eerie killing intent gradually engulfed the entire mountain peak. The sky suddenly darkened, and rumbling sounds could be heard. A foot could be seen stepping out of the whirlpool. Just this foot alone caused Supremacy Fa Lien's expression to change greatly, because this cannot even be considered as a foot, it is a foot that has no flesh and blood. Could it be? Supremacy Fa Lien's expression changed greatly. When Supremacy Fa Lien saw that familiar robe, he looked at that pair of empty eye sockets that were emitting red light in disbelief. Big Two used all their strength to raise their heads and look at the figure that was not far away from them, and when they saw that pair of eye sockets, their minds became completely blank. After all, the two of them did not participate in that battle, but they had also heard about how terrifying that battle was. How tragic it was. Supremacies fell one after another, causing everyone to tremble in fear. After all, those were supremacies, not small fries. To be able to kill powerful supremacies, just what kind of person was that? It was said that the leader of that group was a skeleton that wore a robe. That skeleton was completely inhumane, that skeleton would kill anyone he saw, and in his eyes, human lives were not even worth a single straw. Who was this skeleton in front of him? Didn't Master say that even if the world was destroyed, those people wouldn't come back? What was happening now? Was this skeleton the same as before? The person who came was indeed Yi Hua. Yi Hua, who had revealed his true form and was even wearing the robe that he had worn back then. His thoughts were very clear, and that was to use his current appearance to take revenge for what happened back then. Paragon Fa Lien's figure flashed and appeared not far away from Yi Hua. Paragon Fa Lien's eyes were filled with heaviness. You are Sovereign Fa Lien, are you surprised to see me? Yi Hua slowly breathed out, and a boundless killing intent gushed forth. Looking at this person, Yi Hua was a little unable to control the rage in his heart. This Paragon Fa Lien had killed 2 of his subordinates back then. But things were different now. You're not dead. Supremacy Fa Lien's face tightened as he exclaimed in shock. How was this possible? Back then, all of them had died in battle, and they had even confirmed it time and time again. How could they still be alive? Yi Hua spat out that eerie voice that came from the netherworld. If you want me to die, have you asked for my permission? You. Yi Hua tightly clenched his fists and shouted out gravely, Paragon Fa Lien, originally, I had arranged a very good show for you, but your luck is good, so I can't give you that show anymore. You heinous criminal, so what if you manage to survive? There are 3,000 great Daos, are you still able to escape from karma and reincarnation? Yi Hua snorted lightly, then said impressively, what a heinous and unpardonable. Have you killed even less than me? Just who are you showing your kindness to? If there's a cause, there's an effect, that's why I came back. Why did you come back? Yi Hua suddenly laughed out wildly. That laughter shook the entire space, and the mountains started shaking intensely. Countless rocks started rolling down from the sky. You are asking me why I came back. You all killed my race. Slaughtered my race. Are you all going to write off this debt? The heavens don't care, I care. The heavens don't pity, I kill. The heavens come, I kill. I am willing to be a criminal for eternity. Boom. Waves of terrifying aura wantonly spread out. Along with every sentence that was spoken, the despair and terror that was being emitted became heavier. The enormous spiritual pressure had already shaken the entire origin sky peak to the point where it was on the verge of collapse. The majestic aura was like countless sharp blades, and everywhere it touched would turn into dust. Big and small air who were kneeling on the ground couldn't withstand the terrifying aura at all, and the flesh on their bodies started dissipating at a speed that could be seen with the naked eye. What was left behind was a pile of skeletons lying on the ground. Not long later, even the skeletons turned into dust, and even the primordial spirits weren't able to escape. Outsiders are incomparably savage, and killing is the law of the world. You all are the ugliness that the world gave birth to. Paragon Fa Lien was still very valiant. Under Yi Hua's savage aura, his expression actually didn't change, which meant that he had quite a lot of treasures on him. Yi Hua had met too many people on his path of cultivation. Which of the 7 deadly sins wasn't an outsider, and all of them were being chased by humans? How many outsider families were destroyed, and yet, no one took pity on them? Humans beheaded the heads of the outsider and laughed wildly. What is kindness? What is evil? Yi Hua didn't feel good if he didn't spit it out. These hypocritical paragons are all colluding with each other, and their crimes are monstrous. Paragon Fa Lien, come, let me see just how much you have improved during these few years. Paragon Fa Lien immediately let out an overflowing killing intent, and the surging spiritual pressure engulfed the entire place. Rumbling sounds rang out, and it was as if the end of the world had arrived. I shall let you have a taste of the pain back then. Buddha fire illumination. An enormous image could be seen appearing behind Paragon Fa Lien, and an aura that could shake the heavens pressed down. Yi Hua looked at the image faintly, not moving at all. The image slowly stretched out its enormous palm towards Yi Hua, and a golden flame that was like magma sprayed towards Yi Hua. Yihua's body was instantly devoured by the flame, and the scorching flame dyed the entire origin sky peak red. You shall die the same way you died back then. Paragon Fa Lien snorted coldly. You are merely a so-so. Buddha fire illumination. A sound suddenly rang out from within the flame, causing Paragon Fa Lien to be startled. However, when he saw the enormous image that appeared, Paragon Fa Lien's expression changed greatly. How can this be? How can he know Buddha fire illumination as well? This isn't possible. Furthermore, his Buddha fire illumination is actually black, just like a blackened Buddha. Paragon Fa Lien, you might not know this yet, but I know your ultimate technique as well. Right now, what Paragon Fa Lien was thinking about was, why hasn't he been burned into ashes by Buddha fire illumination? Could it be that my body has already reached such a terrifying level? Sunfall heavenly fire. Yihua shouted out slowly. Chapter 560. Sovereign Fa Lien, go to hell with your repentance. That's where you belong. As for the others, I'll slowly send them down to keep you company. After speaking, the enormous black figure behind Yihua stretched out its palm and a terrifying aura sprayed out. Black flames immediately enveloped Paragon Falien's body, and the Sunfall heavenly fire also landed on Paragon Falien's body. The black and yellow light exploded violently, and a terrifying cyclone covered the sky. Cracks began to appear on the entire origin heaven peak, and it looked like it would collapse at any moment. You will suffer retribution. You definitely will, the other supreme beings won't let you go. You will be killed again. Paragon Fa Lien's words gradually disappeared into the air, and with a wave of Yihua's hand, Paragon Fa Lien's storage bag fell into Yihua's hand, and Yihua's figure disappeared from the summit of the mountain. After Yihua left, the entire origin heaven peak started to shake, and along with the Sunfall heavenly fires devouring, the entire origin heaven peak started to fall apart. Yihua felt that this was really letting him off too easily. This was basically letting him die painlessly, and this was completely different from what he had planned. From the moment Yihua appeared until the end, the entire process only took about 5 minutes. In actuality, Yihua could have been faster, but Yihua couldn't help but want to continue chatting for a while. If not, he would be letting the other party die too easily. In the bedroom on the second floor of the bar, Yihua appeared. When Dongwang Baiji saw Yihua, she finally let out a sigh of relief. God bless me, I am safe and sound. When the few people from the 7 great sins saw that his honor had returned, and that Sovereign Fa Lien was most likely dead, everyone felt that Sovereign Fa Lien had died too easily, and there wasn't any process of despair at all. Although it had only been a few minutes, the spacetime staff was almost exhausted. It seemed that the unborn child was even sucking the staff. How terrifying! Yihua hurriedly opened up Supreme Fa Lien's storage bag and took out the blooming lotus flower. However, the lotus flower was a bit big to the point that it looked like a small bed. You all can leave first, Yihua said faintly. Wei Cheng and the others bowed and retreated. Right now, this was the only thing that was useful. After taking back the space-time scepter, Qingya's face instantly started showing signs of pain again. Furthermore, the speed at which Qingya was sucking the space-time scepter even faster. Yihua didn't dare to think too much and carried Qingya into the lotus flower. Looking at how much pain Qingya was in, Yihua's mood gradually sunk. I hope that this is really useful. The lotus flower could be seen slowly closing, and Yihua stood at the side and quietly waited. Everyone remained silent, because they knew that if they were to speak now, they would definitely anger Yihua. Thus, they decided to just wait. After all, even Donghuang Baiji didn't say anything. Dong Huangli was tightly hugging onto her mother's leg as she looked at the lotus worriedly. The good news was that Qingya's cries of pain had become much softer, and Yihua could feel that Qingya's aura had already stabilized, and there was no sign of Qingya being sucked. This little brat, when he comes out later, just wait and see how I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to spank him. Yihua, everything is fine now. Donghuang Baiji let out a breath of relief. Tonight can be said to be a daunting experience without any mishaps. Back then, when I gave birth to Ali, it was very smooth. With a plop, Ali came out. Yihua nodded his head, then looked at the other women and said gravely, "You all can go back first. Your Honor, let us continue to observe the situation. When the time comes, we will be able to help out," Zishan said respectfully. Everyone nodded their heads, and Yihua did not continue speaking and quietly waited. Unknowingly, the darkness outside had dispersed, and a ray of light shone through the window. It seemed that the first day of the new year was a good day. However, when the sunlight shone onto the lotus, the entire lotus emitted out a colorful radiance, and the scene was instantly beautiful. Wah, 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 the sound of a baby crying rang out from within the lotus, and Yihua was completely stupefied. I didn't accompany Ali when she was born, and thus, I don't know how to feel. However, right now, I am accompanying Qinya, and this kind of feeling is very complicated. I don't even know what I should do. Should I laugh, or should I do something else? Little brother is born, Dong Huangli shouted out loudly. Everyone came back to their senses, and even Wei Chang, who was outside the door, walked into the lotus. All of Wei Chang's subordinates prostrated on the ground and shouted out loudly, "Congratulations, Your Honor, little His Honor has been born. Everyone, get up, you all have worked hard tonight." Yihua smiled, he smiled very happily. This little brat has finally calmed down. "Your Honor, you all have worked hard tonight." Yihua shook his head helplessly, then waved his hand, and everyone was dragged up from the lotus. At this time, the lotus slowly opened up, and Qinya could be seen sitting cross-legged on the lotus while carrying a little guy in her bosom. "This little brat, I am going to beat him to death." Yihua couldn't bear it anymore. To do such a thing before even being born, just what will happen in the future. Qinya hurriedly stopped Yihua and said, "What are you doing, beating your son right after coming out?" When the little fellow saw his father, he seemed to be very afraid. He hid within his mother's bosom and shivered. From the looks of it, he knew that he had done something wrong and was feeling very embarrassed. A loving mother tends to spoil her son. Yihua didn't know why, but he said this sentence. "I am willing." Right now, Qinya didn't care about all those things. "My son is my life, he is so adorable. Mommy Qing, let me take a look at little brother." Dong Huangli ran over with small steps and stretched out her head to take a look at the little fellow. The little fellow looked very similar to Qinya, his eyes were very big, and his facial features were also very good. When he grows up, he will definitely become a lady killer. "Little brother, I am your big sister, do you understand?" Dong Huangli said very earnestly, as if she was taking in a little brother. The little fellow looked at his big sister and was very confused. However, his bloodline was telling him that the person in front of him was his family. Thus, he nodded his head. Everyone didn't expect that the little fellow would actually be able to understand. This is simply too mystical. "Qinya, this little fellow looks very similar to you. His nose and eyes are simply exactly the same." Dong Huang Baiji laughed. Dong Huang Baiji felt that the little fellow and Ali were very similar. Everyone agreed with Dong Huang Baiji's words. This caused Yihua to feel very displeased. "Why does my son not look like me? He clearly looks like me." Although Yihua said this, he knew that the child indeed looks like Qinya. However, the king's aura between the child's brows is exactly the same as him. Seems like the child will also become a ruler in the future. I wonder if Dong Huang Baiji is pregnant with a boy or a girl. I will know in another month or two. Everyone surrounded Qinya and looked at the little fellow who was in Qinya's bosom. At the start, the little fellow was very afraid of strangers, but gradually, he got used to it and knew how to smile. However, when he saw his father, he immediately shut his mouth, then buried his entire face into his mother's bosom. He was scared to death. Right now, there was no mishap. Yihua said gravely, "Where is my son's red packet?" The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. How could they have prepared a red packet? They didn't expect their wife to give birth so quickly. "Your Honor, next time, if there's nothing else, we will take our leave first." Happy New Year, Your Honor. Lai Gu cupped his hands. Everyone immediately learned from Lai Gu's actions, and after saying that they would give the money to Lai Gu next time, they disappeared. Chapter 561. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched. The two of you are truly becoming more and more arrogant. To think that my son is actually not giving red packets. However, right at this moment, the phone in Yi Hua's pants kept on ringing. Yi Hua took out his phone and took a look. At least you guys are tactful, knowing to send red packets. Yehua, what's the matter? Qinya carried her son and asked curiously. Oh, it's nothing much, they are all trash text messages, the kind that involves gambling. Yi Hua said faintly. It wasn't easy for me to obtain some private money, so how could I possibly hand it over? Come, let me hug my son. Yi Hua walked to the front of Qinya and said lightly. Qinya reminded, our son didn't do it on purpose, don't hit him. Otherwise, I won't let you off. Dong Wang Baiji, who was at the side, laughed. Qinya's current state is exactly the same as me back then. My child is my lifeblood. Alright, I won't hit you. Qinya carefully placed the child into her husband's embrace. However, the little fellow was grabbing onto his mother's hand tightly, and that expression of his seemed to be saying, Daddy is going to spank me. However, after Yi Hua hugged onto him, he shouted out angrily, Little bastard, I will beat you to death. As he spoke, he slapped his buttocks. The little fellow immediately burst into tears and waved his hands at his mother for help. Mom, save me. Qinya went into a daze for a moment, then immediately snatched her son over. Yehua. Papa, brother knows he's wrong. Don't hit him anymore. He's so pitiful. Dong Wangli was also pleading for her little brother. The little fellow was currently in his mother's embrace, and he didn't even dare to look at his father. His little body was shivering in fear, and there was even a handprint on his little butt. In actuality, how could Yi Hua possibly hit him hard? He was just smacking him to teach him a lesson. The situation just now was too dangerous, and he nearly made a huge mistake. If he didn't teach him a lesson, he wouldn't be able to live. Qinya hugged onto her son and coaxed, Don't cry, with Mom here, Dad won't be able to bully you in the future. The little fellow was still wailing loudly and was completely unable to stop. What else could Qinya do? Yi Hua was only acting like this because he was worried about me. He should be hungry. Dong Wang Baiji said. Dong Wang Baiji had some experience with this. Qinya thought to herself, Yi Hua, you can go out first. Why would I want to go out? Yi Hua was confused. Haven't I inhaled before? That's embarrassing, we're already an old married couple. Dong Wangli was still a lot more sensible. Dong Wangli pulled onto her father's hand and said, Mommy Qing is going to feed little brother milk. Ali used to be like this too, we can't watch. Being persuaded by his daughter like this, Yi Hua felt very flabbergasted, and he could only carry his daughter and leave for a while. Daddy, what is little brother's name? Dong Wangli asked curiously while hugging onto her father. In actuality, he had already discussed with Qinya about the name of the name. My younger brother's name is Yi Yen. Yi Hua said lightly. 3 fires. Fire, fire, fire. Dong Wangli muttered a few words, sounds good. Ali, you have to take good care of your brother in the future, okay? You're my big sister now. Dong Wangli nodded her head and said earnestly, Daddy, you can be at ease. Ali will definitely take good care of little brother, and won't let others bully little brother. Ali still has to bring little brother out to play. Ali is still sensible. She is Papa's little cotton-padded jacket. Yi Hua was very gratified to have a daughter like Ali, who is obedient and sensible. That brat caused such a huge commotion when he was born, and even I, the Supreme Overlord, am unable to do anything to him. Dong Wangli smiled happily. My position in my father's heart is unshakable. After all, Ali is my father's first child, and furthermore, she is the most obedient and sensible child. That should be enough, let's go in. I want to play with little brother. Yi Hua laughed, your little brother doesn't even know how to walk yet. It's fine, Ali will teach little brother how to play with mud. On the morning of the first day of Chinese New Year, people woke up very early to eat. After that, they would wait to go out and pay their New Year's greetings, visit their relatives, and so on. The children who received their New Year's money were already impatient to go out and play. There were also a lot of people selling beef skewers and mutton skewers on the streets. In a city like Gaohai City, it was not allowed to set up stalls on the streets. However, most of the people had already gone back home to celebrate the New Year, and Gaohai City seemed a bit desolate. However, in one of the villas, Sky Raising Guild's members were having a pretty good New Year. When they woke up in the morning, Sky Raising Guild was even giving out all kinds of red envelopes, asking for good luck. Feng Tian and Feng Di didn't believe in the New Year. For example, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin also gave out red packets for good luck. After all, in the New Year, they had to work hard. They had to take back everything that they had lost in the past. Brother Qing, did you discover anything? Didn't you say that it would appear during the New Year this year? Wang Debao asked while eating Kong Shifu instant noodles. In actuality, everyone was eating instant noodles. On the first day of Chinese New Year, a lot of shops would be closed. Even Sky Raising Guild was eating Laotan pickled vegetable instant noodles, and Feng Tian and Feng Di were the same as well. What a frugal guild. Instant noodles were enough. Sky Raising Guild's eyes slightly narrowed. Last night, there was indeed a very strong spiritual pressure. However, it was only for an instant, and it disappeared very quickly. I can only confirm that it came from the south. How strong is it? Feng Tian asked curiously. Sky Raising Guild drank a mouthful of soup, then let out a breath. It can kill you with a single slap, so don't think about it anymore. We are unable to move. Everyone, kill Feng Tian with a single slap. Why doesn't Feng Tian believe it? He really wants to try and see if he can kill Feng Tian with a single slap. Sky Raising Guild said softly, Feng Tian, don't think about it anymore. You will really be killed with a single slap. Trust me, I won't lie to you. Feng Tian wasn't convinced. He shouted in a deep voice, there's still a secret weapon. This so-called secret weapon was another personality. Sky Raising Guild knew about it, so he said calmly, I know your secret weapon, so I will give you another slap. Actually, it will still be one slap. I'm sorry, I was just comforting you. Everyone, Sky Raising Guild picked up the instant noodles and drank the soup again. It felt great, then he put it down gently, as if he was afraid that the paper box would break. Actually, everyone, don't worry. Let's just ignore this kind of boss for the time being. Let's find a weaker one first and split the loot. Sky Raising Guild had been playing the Legend of Mir private server with Wang Debao recently. Everything was related to loot. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Let's let him be arrogant for a while, and when the people in the cultivation world can't do anything about it, we will save him. Then, we will have the loot and reputation. Isn't that great? Sky Raising Guild added. Everyone nodded. Reputation was what Bai Cixin wanted, and it was more attractive than loot. Suddenly, Sky Raising Guild was stunned. The North has appeared, and they are quite strong. We can deal with them. In the snowy mountains in the north, a man looked at his hands and slowly closed his eyes. He murmured, I never thought that I, Xiao Yi, would be reborn again. And I have become an immortal venerable. The time for revenge is here. Chapter 562. At this moment, Xiao Yi's silvery hair hung down to his waist. He was wearing a white robe, looking like an immortal. Powerful spiritual energy hovered around him. Previously, Xiao Yi wasn't even an immortal sovereign, but after his rebirth, he had become an immortal venerable. His strength had increased by tens of times. Xiao Yi's powerful strength gave him incomparable confidence. He felt that he could even fight against Qingya and Black Robe. A black longsword suddenly appeared in Xiao Yi's hand. The sword's body emitted black starlight. If one looked closely, they would find that it was exactly the same as the Xian Yuan sword, only the color was different. Old friend. I'm very happy to see you. Xiao Yi's expression was calm and reserved, completely different from before. The black Xianyuan sword in his hand vibrated slightly. It seemed to be very excited and wanted to start a massacre. Don't worry, if there is a debt, we will get it back. Xiao Yi's eyes were filled with killing intent. He was now a terrifying immortal venerable, whoever dared to defy him would be killed. Black robe. This immortal supremacy still remembers the debt of forcing my beloved wife to her death. Qinya. This debt of forcing me to die, this immortal supremacy still remembers. And that man. The main culprit. This immortal supremacy will take them back one by one. In a flash, Xiao Yi disappeared and reappeared in his home. His daughters had just been born and he had just taken a look at them. Now that he had been reborn, he would definitely let them live a good life. He would also let them become objects of respect. Shu Nan. Yuqi. Yun Xiao Yi shouted with joy in his heart. However, the spacious villa seemed deserted. The table was covered with a layer of dust, as if no one had lived there for a long time. This caused Xiao Yi's expression to sink. He quickly rushed upstairs and opened every bedroom, but there was no one. Xiao Yi's face was very ugly. Thick veins popped out of his skin. Where are they? Where is he? My woman. My child. It must be Qinya. It must be Qinya who killed all of them. At that time, Qinya even said that she would spare their lives. I didn't expect that after I died, Qinya basically didn't let my family off. He couldn't find his children's aura at all. There was only one conclusion. His 2 children were dead. Shu Nan and the others were killed by Qinya. Qinya, you are so vicious. Voidless stage. This immortal sovereign wants you to pay with blood. After reincarnating, Xiao Yi had completely lost his rationality. He thought that Qinya had killed his woman and child. Your woman and child are all on the blue blaze star, how could you sense them? Because of this, Xiao Yi underwent a crazy change. The death of his wife and son caused Xiao Yi to lose all hope. It was as if he had to kill everyone in the world to get rid of this resentment. Xianyuan's sword once again appeared in Xiao Yi's hand, because Xiao Yi had decided to massacre Voidless Realm and take revenge for his wife and son. However, this was just the beginning. However, Xiao Yi suddenly discovered one thing. Where is Voidless Realm? He had no idea at all. Xiao Yi floated in the sky of the north once again, and with a sinister and scary look on his face, he said, Voidless Realm. This immortal Empyrean will kill until you all come out. After saying that, he swooped down. Below him were some small clans in the north. They were celebrating the first day of the new year. Children were building snowmen outside, playing merrily. However, within a few minutes, the happy house had turned into a living hell. Corpses were strewn all over the ground, and the white snowman was stained with the blood of the children. The children who had been laughing happily just a moment ago had fallen beside the snowman, and their eyes were filled with confusion. Why did that uncle want to kill me? Why did he want to kill my father, mother, grandpa, grandma, big brother, big sister? Why did this happen? Xiao Yi looked at everything in front of him coldly. There was no why. Because this immortal Empyrean just wanted to kill, I want to use endless slaughter to take revenge for my wife and son. Cruel slaughters were being carried out on the first day of the new year. On average, a small family was being exterminated every hour, and the methods used to kill people were simply inhumane. However, some of the scenes were taken by people who were about to die and uploaded to the Cultivation Worlds forum. The video had the intention of warning everyone to be careful of this Xiao Yi. He had already gone crazy. Such a video immediately swept through the entire cultivation world. Xiao Yi, who had disappeared for a few months, actually appeared again. Furthermore, this time, he actually massacred some small families. He was extremely hateful. Everyone prayed to Voidless Realm to come out and kill this Xiao Yi. This Xiao Yi is simply a scum. Right now, Sky Holding Realms team was watching the video of Xiao Yi killing people. What is going on with this Xiao Yi? Why is he randomly killing people? Wang Debao was puzzled. Initially, he thought that Xiao Yi's family must have met with some kind of mishap when they disappeared. However, this Xiao Yi suddenly appeared again, and furthermore, he started killing people without any restraint. Sky Holding Realm laughed lightly. Xiao Yi is the target this time. The four people at the side were startled, and Feng Tian said faintly, "This Xiao Yi is the person who reincarnated this time?" Sky Holding Realm nodded his head. Bai Cixin said confusedly, "Then, does that mean that Xiao Yi was killed at the start?" Feng Tian snorted coldly, "Who cares if he was killed or not? That black weapon in his hand is not bad, I want it." "Don't worry, the more powerful the person who reincarnated, the more treasures they would have on them," Sky Holding Realm said faintly. "Big brother Qin, then, when are we going to make a move?" Wang Debao asked curiously. Sky Holding Realm laughed lightly, "Let him continue killing for a while first, if not, where would the hatred come from? Our appearance wouldn't be that shocking." This was precisely the effect that Bai Cixin needed, while Feng Tian didn't need it. Thus, Bai Cixin appeared very impatient and turned around to go upstairs. On the other side, Yihua's family of 5 returned to Voidless Realm. After all, Voidless Realm's spiritual energy was rich, and the spiritual energy in Voidless Realm was beneficial to children. Qinya hugged onto her son, and a motherly radiance could be seen on the corner of her mouth. In Qinya's eyes, right now, there was only her son, and Yihua was no longer in her eyes. Dong Huangli stood at the side and played with her little brother. Dong Huangli was very happy. "I really hope that my little brother can grow up quickly." Yihua and Dong Huang Baiji stood at the side. Yihua felt very helpless as he asked, "Baiji, were you like this back then as well?" Dong Huang Baiji snuggled into her husband's embrace. "That's right, I was like this when Ali was born. However, in order to keep it a secret, I didn't protect her every day like Qinya. I truly let our daughter down. Why didn't you come and look for me?" Yihua said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji punched onto Yihua's chest with her small fist. "You heartless man, you didn't even want to see me. At that time, I hated you to death, and I even decided to never see you again. Your Majesty's temper isn't small, just that, I never would have thought that you would fall into my hands again, and right now, you are even pregnant with a second child." Yihua couldn't help but tease Dong Huang Baiji. "I feel that my current life isn't bad." Dong Huang Baiji said coquettishly, "Bad man, haha." Yihua laughed heartily. "I like the way the Empress is acting." Chapter 563. Dong Huang Baiji pinched onto Yihua's waist and acted coquettishly. Yihua lightly caressed his beloved wife's hair. "In this world, only the two of you would dare to pinch me like this. We are your wives. If you don't give us a massage, are you going to give other women a massage?" Dong Huang Baiji said proudly. Right now, she wasn't even afraid of Yihua anymore. It was better not to talk about such topics as they were very jealous. Report. A guard suddenly rushed in. When he saw his empress nestled in the man's embrace, he was instantly shocked, and hurriedly squatted down and lowered his head. Dong Huang Baiji's expression sunk as she left Yihua's embrace. "What are you making a fuss about?" "Please forgive me, Your Majesty," the guard said while trembling with fear. "Speak. What is it?" The guard said in a low voice, "Your Majesty, just a few hours ago, there was a massacre in the north. A few small families were brutally exterminated." Qinya looked towards Yihua, seemingly asking, "Aren't you the one watching over that group of people? Why did he suddenly come to the north to kill people?" Yihua was also very puzzled. "If something were to really happen, Brett would definitely come and inform me." "Who?" Yihua asked faintly. "It's Xiao Yi." "Xiao Yi?" Yihua and Dong Huang Baiji clearly went into a daze for a moment, then looked towards Qinya, who was not far away. Didn't Xiao Yi get killed by Qinya? Why did Xiao Yi appear again? Qinya had obviously heard it as well, and she was confused. That night, I had clearly already killed him. I saw it with my own eyes, and he had already turned into ashes. How could he still be alive? While carrying her son, Qinya walked over and asked gravely, "Are you sure it's Xiao Yi?" The guard nodded. "You can leave first," Yi Hua said faintly. The guard didn't dare to say anything and retreated first. Yi Hua didn't doubt that Qinya released Xiao Yi, he was just curious about how Xiao Yi managed to survive. However, when he thought about the 5-year cycle, could it be that it started with Xiao Yi? Rebirth? The three of them looked at the video on the forum and confirmed that it was Xiao Yi. This Xiao Yi really has the essence of a cockroach, Yi Hua said indifferently. Compared to Xiao Yi, Yi Hua liked that blood demon more. Look at other people, in the past, all of them wanted to bring calamity to the common people. After being screwed twice in a row, he kept a low profile and obediently worked at the bar. As for Xiao Yi, he had probably been screwed several times already, but he still didn't know how to repent. He was simply hopeless. Couldn't he just live an honest life? Look at the Supreme Overlord. Despite possessing such great power, the Supreme Overlord never flaunts it, nor does he bully the weak. It shouldn't be too much for him to receive the Good Citizen Award, right? I'll deal with it again, Qinya said coldly. Although she didn't know how Xiao Yi was still alive, seeing so many people die at his hands, Qinya felt that it was her responsibility to not completely eradicate Xiao Yi. Yi Hua didn't want Qinya to take action again. A person like Qinya wasn't worth it. Moreover, just now, Brett had also sent over news that the target of that group of people was also Xiao Yi. Sooner or later, they would have to take action against Xiao Yi. Qinya, take good care of your child. Leave this matter to me, Yi Hua said faintly, then looked towards his son who was in Qinya's embrace. When Yi Yen saw his father's expression, he once again buried his face into his mother's embrace, not daring to look at his father. So fierce, Qinya felt that she had lost face in front of her husband. I didn't even kill all the people that I killed, and I felt a bit guilty. Dong Wang Baiji didn't say anything, she just listened to her husband's orders. However, the entire northern side was in chaos. Xiao Yi killed anyone he saw, killing gods he saw. He was just terrifying. It has already been more than 10 hours, yet there was still no reaction from Voidless Realm. This caused Yi Hua to be even more flustered. This was similar to the incident in the south last year, and Xiao Yi was even more vicious than that group of people. More than 10 families had been killed, and even newborn babies were not spared. This was a crime worthy of divine retribution. At this time, the Cultivation World's forum was exploding. Why hasn't anyone come to save the North? We're about to be killed by Xiao Yi. Back then, our Empress went to save the South. Now that the North is in trouble, is the South just going to watch? Big brother, it's useless even if you ask us to go. He's the act tough Wang Xiao. The big shots on our side haven't responded yet. This act tough King Xiao is too arrogant. We have to defeat him together. Who wants to form a team? Have a safe journey. Sorry for bothering you. Just when everyone was in a state of panic, a new avatar suddenly appeared. What a cool name. Justice Alliance. Furthermore, a thread was made. Dear brothers and sisters, after knowing that you are in danger, we were very worried. Therefore, we have decided to lead our members to punish evil and bring peace back to the North. The time will be 10 p.m. tonight. Brothers and sisters who have just gotten off work can come and watch the battle. Qing Tian was very satisfied. This way, I will be able to display the positive energy of my team. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin sat at the side and quietly waited for the reply. Half an hour later, there was finally a reply. I am 8 years old this year, can I join your alliance? Qing Tian and the others, after waiting for such a long time, there was actually such a comment, and the comment was even pushed down by other threads. Simply shameless. Big brother Qing, this method of yours won't work. Wang Debao shook his head. Not receiving any attention at all, the moderator doesn't even know how to add a gem. Qing Tian let out a light sigh. I was too careless. However, it doesn't matter, when we appear on time tonight, they will definitely be shocked. Bai Cixin nodded her head and said, that's right, they don't care about us right now. When we become famous, there will naturally be a lot of people commenting on us. After that, we will be able to recruit a lot of powerful experts. Voidless realm, if Ing family can claim to be a big shot, we can do it too. Qing Tian's eyes flickered with a strange color. Is the conspiracy behind this twisted human nature or moral degeneration? Bai Cixin had a fanatical look on her face, as if she had already been brainwashed by Qing Tian. Wang Debao, who was sitting at the side, had a worried look on his wife's face. This Qing Tian was just like the head of CX, bewitching everyone, pulling out everyone's desires, and then controlling them. What a formidable control technique. Right now, it was already 8 p.m. Xiao Yi was sitting at a food street, eating mala soup, and his eyes were looking at the note. There were a lot of families' names written on the note, and there were already more than 10 families whose names were marked with red bars. Just that, I didn't expect that after I killed so many people, no one from Voidless Realm actually appeared. This is truly cold-blooded. Not coming out, I don't believe it. If I, Venerable Immortal Shao, slaughter Voidless Realm, I won't be able to eat for the rest of my life. Boss, your food is here. A bowl of fragrant braised meat rice was served in front of Xiao Yi. Where's the egg? Xiao Yi said gravely. I'm sorry, I didn't hear it just now. I will add the egg for you now. You don't have any professionalism at all. I clearly asked you to add the egg just now. Chapter 564. While eating the fragrant braised meat rice, Xiao Yi looked at the name written on the paper. Next one, it's the Qin family. The family head, Qin Xuanzong, a dark horse from the north. Currently, Qin Xuanzong was enjoying his dinner at home. There was only one person eating at the 8 meters long dining table. Qin Xuanzong didn't have a girlfriend. Although there were many women chasing after him, Qin Xuanzong only had Qinya in his heart. Qin Xuanzong's family members had all passed away. Therefore, he was the only one left in the Qin family. Currently, Qin Xuanzong was holding a tablet and watching a video. A trace of blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth. This Xiao Yi finally came out. I was just worried that I couldn't find him. God bless my Qin family. Let me kill this Xiao Yi with my spear. Qin Xuanzong cut a piece of steak and stuffed it into his mouth. Blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth. At first glance, the steak was only half done, and there was still blood in it. The other servants were also shocked to see their boss eating like this, but it was just for a while, as if they were used to it. When Qin Xuanzong finished his delicious steak and was about to eat with a piece of tissue, a huge aura appeared. Qin Xuanzong's face tightened. With a bang, the door was thrown open and the expensive furniture was smashed into pieces. Xiao Yi walked in slowly. When Qin Xuanzong saw that it was Xiao Yi, his eyes shone with passion. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you insist on barging in. Save me the trouble of finding you. Qin Xuanzong, if you kill yourself, I'll let you die in one piece. Xiao Yi shouted coldly with the black Xianyuan sword in his hand. Qin Xuanzong laughed. Xiao Yi, you still like to act tough. Hee, I didn't get my title of Act Tough King for nothing. Xiao Yi said disdainfully. A small family head dares to act tough in front of me. Qin Xuanzong stood up and emitted killing intent. Since you're here, it's for the best. I'll settle old and new scores together. Do we still have old scores? I really don't remember. Xiao Yi said calmly. He had too much blood on his hands. He couldn't remember all of them. Qin Xuanzong's face turned cold. He shouted coldly, you killed dozens of my family members, and you still don't remember. Qin family? I'm sorry, I really don't remember. Maybe you can give me more details. Have you forgotten that you killed my entire family for the Xianyuan sword? This time, Xiao Yi finally remembered and laughed. You are the child that was left alone? Who would have thought that this would be fate? Killing you today can be considered as truly destroying your Qin clan. Kill me? Xiao Yi, do you really think I'm that easy to kill? Next year, today will be the anniversary of your death. No one will go and mend the grass on your grave. Xiao Yi was helpless and patted the dust off his sleeves. Don't worry, the grass on your grave won't be too short. Qin Xuanzong said faintly, let's go out and fight. Sure. Xiao Yi readily agreed. The two of them came to a nearby bamboo forest. The temperature in the north was extremely low, especially at night. The cold wind howled, and it was bone-chilling. Right now, it was probably a few degrees below zero. Rustling sounds could be heard from the bamboo forest. Fallen leaves fell down, as if hinting at some kind of message. Xiao Yi and Qin Xuanzong stood opposite each other. This was a fated battle. Qin Xuanzong, the Devil Emperor, had come back to this world to take revenge. Moreover, he had been looking for a chance to kill Xiao Yi. Now, the time had come. Killing Xiao Yi would make him more famous. Immortal Emperor versus Devil Emperor. However, Xiao Yi was probably not an immortal emperor anymore. He had already ascended to the immortal reverent realm. However, Qin Xuanzong, the Devil Emperor, was not someone to be trifled with. A spear appeared in Qin Xuanzong's hand. When the spear appeared, a horrifying aura exploded. The surrounding bamboos were all vaporized, and an empty space was formed. The entire spear shone with golden radiance. The sharp spearhead shone with a lethal aura. Complicated patterns were engraved on the spear's body, flickering slightly. 6 shadowy moon. Qin Xuanzong shouted and pointed the spear at the sky. A clump of golden radiance appeared in the pitch-black sky. In an instant, it descended with a violent aura, just like a tornado. The spear had absorbed the might of the sky and became even more dazzling. The violent aura roared in all directions, and the rumbling sound pierced through the heavens and earth. Xiao Yi frowned, you actually have an ancient godly artifact. That's right. The 6 shadowy moon in Qin Xuanzong's hand was an ancient godly artifact. It was a weapon that came from a devil emperor. Qin Xuanzong could be considered to be a patient person. He actually didn't reveal the ancient godly artifact in his hand. If he did, he might also be one of the aristocratic families. Qin Xuanzong came back for revenge. Moreover, he didn't want Xiao Yi to die so easily. Of course, it was also for Qinya. Consolidating his own strength was just to live a good life with Qinya. He didn't want to fight for anything. That's right. My 6 shadowy moon is an ancient godly artifact, Xiao Yi. Tonight will be the day you die. Having an ancient godly artifact was a form of reliance. One should know that even a big shot like the Ying family didn't have an ancient godly artifact. They only had a lot of ancient godly items. Ha ha ha. Xiao Yi suddenly laughed. Then, he swung the Xianyuan sword in his hand. If it was in the past, I might be a little afraid. However, my Xianyuan sword has already surpassed the level of an ancient godly item. It has reached the level of an ancient godly item. After he finished speaking, the Xianyuan sword in Xiao Yi's hand trembled. A half-moon black sword aura with killing intent attacked Qin Xuanzong. He really started fighting without saying anything. Qin Xuanzong snorted lightly. The 6 shadowy moon in his hand stabbed forward. Instantly, golden radiance shone brightly. The two clashed. The color of the world changed. The surface of the earth cracked, forming a bottomless ravine. Gusts of astral winds swept through the surroundings. This was the power of an ancient godly artifact. When the two clashed, even the color of the world changed. The radiance emitted from the collision illuminated the entire world. The result of this clash was 50-50. It was a tie. Not bad. Xiao Yi said indifferently. I didn't expect your Xianyuan sword to evolve. Consider yourself lucky. The sixth shadowy moon in Qin Xuanzong's hand wasn't any weaker than Xiao Yi's Xianyuan sword. Sometimes, luck is also a kind of strength. Just like how your luck wasn't that good, and your entire clan was annihilated by me. These words stabbed into Qin Xuanzong's sore spot. His expression suddenly changed. The sixth shadowy moon in his hand seemed to have sensed its master's anger. Scarlet flame twilight cloud. Qin Xuanzong waved the ancient godly artifact in his hand. In an instant, he stabbed forward 100 times. Rays of bright golden radiance flowed out. Those 100+ spears seemed to be drawing something. A golden figure appeared. It looked like fire and clouds at the same time. It was impossible to tell if it was real or fake. However, this was something released by an ancient godly artifact. How could it be weak? The golden figure was also holding a spear in his hand. It emitted an astonishing aura. As expected of an ancient godly artifact. Chapter 565. Right now, Qin Xuanzong had the advantage in numbers. This was the unique skill of the 6 shadow moons. It was as if Qin Xuanzong was in possession of an ancient godly artifact. Moreover, it was an ancient godly artifact that could move. Xiao Yi was a little shocked. If it was the past him, he wouldn't be able to defeat his opponent. But now, he was an immortal venerable. How could he be afraid of this? Heaven punishment sword art, Brahma's mandate. Xianyuan sword soared into the sky. Xiao Yi roared furiously. Whoosh! Whoosh! 9 Xianyuan swords actually appeared in the sky. Each Xianyuan sword was condensing a terrifying spiritual qi, which spread in all directions. Qin Xuanzong didn't dare to be careless. He pointed the 6 moons at the sword array and shouted, "Star Luo chant." A dazzling light shot out from the spearhead. A dragon roar resounded between the heavens and earth. It actually turned into a golden dragon in the sky. A monstrous pressure was condensing. The golden dragon opened its mouth, and a golden flame instantly shot towards the 9 Xianyuan swords. The golden silhouette beside him rushed towards Xiao Yi, which surprised Xiao Yi. 2 against 1 was indeed advantageous. Xiao Yi's speed was extremely fast. He instantly dodged the golden silhouette's attack and quickly made a hand seal, fall. The 9 Xianyuan swords immediately shot out 9 rays of black light and collided with the golden flame spat out by the dragon. Boom! Boom! The dark night was as bright as day. Huge waves of air spread out like a cutting machine. The golden dragon disappeared, and the Xianyuan sword fell into Xiao Yi's hand. The collision of this move was also evenly matched, which meant that the collision of ancient divine weapons was also ineffective. However, Xiao Yi was a little annoyed. The golden silhouette kept chasing after him. He couldn't even kill it because it was an energy body. Even if he cut off its hand, it would immediately regrow and continue to chase after him. Only now did Xiao Yi realize that the ancient divine tool was undying. He could only kill Qin Xuanzong first. Then, everything would be over. He couldn't gain any advantage in the collision of ancient divine tools. Therefore, he could only rely on his own strength. Xiao Yi was smart for once. Qin Xuanzong was only a devil sovereign. His overall strength was weaker than an immortal venerable. If Xiao Yi was still an immortal sovereign, it was still unknown who would win. Qin Xuanzong immediately became passive. He felt that Xiao Yi's speed was too fast. If it wasn't for the golden man restraining him, he would have been defeated. Qin Xuanzong. What's wrong? What are you hiding for? Xiao Yi shouted coldly with an insolent aura. The more he fought, the more smoothly he got. Xiao Yi. You win. Qin Xuanzong was well aware that he couldn't gain the upper hand in terms of weapons. Even in terms of movement techniques, his opponent was much stronger. It was only a matter of time before he lost. Furthermore, there was a time limit for the Golden Man. If Xiao Yi lost the restraint of the Golden Man, he would soon be killed by him. That's not a very good message. Xiao Xiao Yi smiled and said, Qin Xuanzong, don't you want to take revenge? What are you running for? Fight me to the death. Xiao Yi. Just you wait. One day, I will kill you. Qin Xuanzong began fleeing at full speed. Because the golden figure was about to disappear. However, how could Xiao Yi let Qin Xuanzong escape? The Xianyuan sword in his hand instantly blocked Qin Xuanzong's path of retreat. At the same time, he shook off the attacking golden figure. Then, he charged towards Qin Xuanzong. Qin Xuanzong cursed in his heart. How did Xiao Yi's strength change so much? He didn't have such strength in the past. Seems like I was too careless. I should have killed him earlier. Suddenly, Xiao Yi felt the aura behind him disappear. Then, he smiled and said, Qin Xuanzong, without the golden man, let's see how long you can last. Qin Xuanzong stared at Xiao Yi. I can't run anymore. I can only fight with my life. Xiao Yi, if you are capable, let's fight 3 years later. Xiao Yi was amused. 3 years later? You read too many novels, right? I will take your life in 3 seconds. You. Qin Xuanzong felt helpless. The difference in strength was his weakness. If Xiao Yi didn't have an ancient divine weapon, he could still kill him even if he had the strength. Unfortunately, Xiao Yi had an ancient divine weapon and great strength. Qin Xuanzong felt that he could only fight with his life. Seeing Qin Xuanzong's action, Xiao Yi sneered. He really came to die. That spear is really good. However, just when Xiao Yi was about to attack, 5 people suddenly appeared. This situation made Xiao Yi and Qin Xuanzong a bit dazed. That's right, the people who came were the Justice and Order Alliance. It was exactly 10 p.m., no more and no less. Wang Debao was holding a selfie stick and a phone, facing the scene. The Cultivation World's live broadcast was online. Hello everyone, we are the Justice and Order Alliance. The one standing in front of us is the Act Tough King, Xiao Yi, and the one over there, seems to be Comrade Qin Xuanzong. Looking at the scene, he should have gone through a big battle. It's already a miracle that he is still alive. Qin Xuanzong, Wang Debao said again, we are the Justice and Order Alliance. Please follow our WeChat account. We welcome like-minded brothers to join our ranks and make the world more beautiful. Those who are close to us can come and take a look at the scene. After that, Wang Debao ended the live broadcast. It was just an advertisement, it wasn't necessary to keep the live broadcast going. Xiao Yi slowly turned around and looked at the group of people he knew. What are you guys doing here? Xiao Yi questioned. Qin Xuanzong, who was at the side, was startled. These people know me? Doesn't that mean I'm dead for sure? Am I so unlucky? Qing Tiandi took a step forward and spread out his hands. Xiao Yi, you should know what we are going to do. You should know. You want to kill me? Xiao Yi's face turned cold, and a violent aura suddenly appeared. This shocked Qin Xuanzong. It seems that Xiao Yi didn't use his true strength just now. It seems that he was just playing with me. Damn it. Qing Tiandi sighed and said indifferently, Xiao Yi, we didn't expect you to be the first person to reincarnate. Maybe this is the will of the heavens. Our former comrade has become like this. Xiao Yi laughed, Qing Tiandi, I might have been afraid of you in the past. But now, I'm not afraid of you. Xiao Yi's aura rose again, and the whole ground started to tremble. Cracks even appeared on the ground. The air was like boiling water, and the temperature was rising rapidly. Qin Xuanzong, who was at the side, finally knew the true strength of this Act Tough King. If I didn't have an ancient godly artifact, I might not even be able to resist him for half a minute. Why is he so strong? Qing Tiandi smiled and took a step back. Behind him, Feng Tian walked out and stretched his neck. The terrifying spiritual energy was like a raging wave that pierced through heaven and earth. In the surroundings, there were a lot of people who had come because of the fame. When they saw such a terrifying scene, they did not dare to get close. If they were killed, it would be such a waste. A moment later, the world returned to darkness. Xiao Yi's entire body emitted a pure white light. He was so extraordinary that people couldn't help but want to worship him. I didn't expect you to have such strength in just a few months. No wonder you're so arrogant. Feng Tian said softly. The gloves on his hands didn't show any signs of weakening. It was a prehistoric godly item that had shocking battle strength. Xiao Yi's temperament became faintly discernible just now. Ants, why aren't you kneeling down and submitting to me? These words were completely reasonable. Then, take my punch first. Feng Tian shouted. The gloves on his hands seemed to have sensed its master's anger and started to move. Without any exaggerated destruction, Feng Tian punched out with a loud bang. This was the difference between godly items. For example, ancient godly items would release their power and greatly weaken themselves. However, prehistoric godly items didn't have such exaggerated special effects. By condensing all their power, the power produced would be horrifying. Xiao Yi snorted. He didn't see the true nature of the gloves. He raised his Xianyuan sword and stabbed out. A terrifying black radiance that brought along destructive power struck towards Feng Tian's fist. Feng Tian didn't have the slightest bit of fear. After all, this was a genuine prehistoric godly item. Lowly ant, die. Xiao Yi shouted, and the black radiance on Xianyuan's sword became even more terrifying. Feng Tian laughed, seemingly mocking Xiao Yi's ignorance. When the gloves and Xianyuan's sword came into contact, there wasn't any explosion. Because the tip of Xianyuan's sword began to bend, as if a piece of metal was being squeezed by a powerful force. Xiao Yi opened his eyes wide and looked at his Xianyuan sword in disbelief as it started to bend. This is impossible. How did you do it? Did you use some sort of smokescreen? Xiao Yi muttered. He was completely unable to accept what was happening in front of him. This is my own Xianyuan sword. How can this be? In actuality, this Xianyuan sword is only an imitation. The real Xianyuan sword is still in voidless realm. Xiao Yi, you overestimate yourself too much. You are nothing more than an insignificant chess piece in this world. Qing Tian laughed lightly. Xiao Yi abruptly retreated and threw away the Xianyuan sword in his hand. If not, that fist would have injured him. The Xianyuan sword that looked like a scrap metal fell onto the ground. Feng Tian didn't mind it at all, and the intersecting golden and red radiance on the Xianyuan sword was sucked clean in an instant. Afterward, the might emitted from the gloves increased by a bit once again. You actually. What kind of weapon is this? Xiao Yi panicked. The imposing manner he had just a moment ago was thrown to the back of his head, and he no longer dared to act arrogantly. The other party destroyed his weapon with a single punch and even absorbed the weapon's energy. How could he not be shocked? Xiao Yi, I told you, if you kill yourself, I'll leave you with an intact corpse. Feng Tian swung his fist once again. This time, Xiao Yi won't be able to escape death. Chen Xuanzong's jaw was about to fall onto the ground. Xiao Yi's weapon is an ancient godly artifact. This man's gloves are actually able to destroy an ancient godly artifact? Am I seeing things? Xiao Yi's expression was very grave, and suddenly, he looked towards Qing Tian who was smiling at the side. This damned fellow, as long as I kill him, there should still be a bit of hope. As for strength, Xiao Yi felt that Qing Tian's strength shouldn't be very strong. After all, last time, Qing Tian didn't even participate in the battle at all. With this thought in mind, Xiao Yi didn't think too much about it and turned around to attack Qing Tian. And when Feng Tian saw that Xiao Yi had found his target, he actually didn't chase after Xiao Yi. Instead, he looked as if he was watching a show. Chapter 567. Qing Tian naturally saw Feng Tian's action and laughed lightly. Of course, he didn't put Xiao Yi, who suddenly appeared in his eyes, and he just stood there motionlessly. Big brother Qing, be careful. Wang Debao couldn't help but shout out. This Qing Tian is actually standing there motionlessly, don't get careless. Bai Cixin and Feng Di, who were at the side, didn't say anything, seemingly wanting to see just what kind of person Qing Tian is and how strong he is. After all, Qing Tian has always been the one giving orders to everyone. If he doesn't have powerful strength, how can he be the team leader? This scene was seen by Qing Tian. Xiao Yi, who was crazily slaughtering, arrived in front of Qing Tian, but Qing Tian still didn't move. However, right at this moment, Xiao Yi's body actually stopped. If the spiritual sword were to move forward a centimeter, it would be able to touch Qing Tian's forehead and even penetrate through his head. However, Xiao Yi was unable to do it, because his body couldn't move at all. Xiao Yi, actually, we used to be a very good team, what a pity. Qing Tian slowly said. Seeing Xiao Yi struggling in midair, everyone was shocked. Just how did Qing Tian do this? Although in Feng Di's eyes, Xiao Yi is a bit weak, but to control Xiao Yi like this, even Feng Di wouldn't be able to do it, let alone Wang Debao and Bai Cixin. Chen Xuanzong, who was at the side, was stupefied. This man is too terrifying, isn't he? Xiao Yi's powerful spiritual energy disappeared in an instant. Qing Tian. You guys are ruthless. Xiao Yi's gaze was filled with unwillingness. I just reincarnated this morning, and I didn't expect that I would die in less than a day. Qing Tian took out a napkin, wiped the back of his hand, then folded it and said lightly, Xiao Yi, it's not that we are ruthless, but since we are already dead, why bother reincarnating? You know that we are going to capture those who reincarnated. Today, I, Xiao Yi, have nothing to say about falling into your hands, but I still have a request. Xiao Yi seemed to have given up on resisting, because the other party was too strong. Even without Qing Tian, there was still Feng Di. Qing Tian nodded his head, if I can do it, I will satisfy you. Destroy Voidless Realm. Xiao Yi said coldly. Qing Tian frowned, then raised his head and looked towards Xiao Yi, all right, I promise you. Give me a quick death. Xiao Yi slowly closed his eyes. There was a hint of exhaustion on his face. In the end, Xiao Yi was also a pitiful person. He only wanted the Xiao family to become stronger and for his wife and children to live a different life. Everyone had this kind of thought, but everyone's method was different. Xiao Yi was one of those people who chose the wrong method. If he had submitted to death mage right from the start, there wouldn't be such a situation right now. He might even be able to live happily with his family right now, and he might even have the chance to revive his wife. All right, I'll satisfy your request. Qing Tian smiled and pointed at Xiao Yi's forehead with his index finger. Xiao Yi trembled violently and his skin turned gray. Then, he fell to the ground, lifeless. Xiao Yi's storage bag fell into the hands of heaven and earth. This rebirth usually brought along good things, just like the dragon blade that was given to him at level 100. Debao, you have to cut off what needs to be cut off, okay? Qing Tian Di reminded him. Oh, alright. Wang Debao said blankly. This move that Wang Debao had just performed had shocked everyone. Looking at Qing Tian Di said faintly, your performance today isn't good, so your distribution will be a bit less. Qing Tian Di didn't say anything, which could be considered as him agreeing. Wang Debao's performance is not bad, and his photography skills are also good. Qing Tian Di started to comment. Wang Debao laughed foolishly, I often help my wife take photos, so I practiced it. Bai Cixin glared at her husband. How can you say something like this? From now on, you will be the team's publicist. Qing Tian Di patted on Wang Debao's shoulder. This made Wang Debao a bit scared. The method that Qing Tian Di used to kill Xiao Yi was too terrifying. It was practically no different from killing an ant. Don't worry, I will do it well. Wang Debao said sincerely. That, is your team still lacking people? A soft voice sounded from the side. Chen Xuanzong could be seen walking over slowly. Just now, he saw Xiao Yi die, and his mood was very good. Although he wasn't taking revenge for himself, he still saw his enemy die. Qing Tiandi laughed loudly. You are most welcome. Thank you. Qin Xuanzong felt that he had found a team. This group of people is too strong. If I join them, I will definitely be able to kill that damned Long Outyan and save Qinya. In actuality, Qin Xuanzong was a bit scared, because he had just heard a lot of things. If he were to leave just like that, he would most likely be killed. Knowing the strength of the other party, how would Qin Xuanzong dare to leave? Therefore, he could only request to join them. Furthermore, the other party's target seemed to be Voidless Realm. Just thinking about that Long Outyan hiding in Voidless Realm made Qin Xuanzong tremble in anger. Qing Tiandi opened up his arms and shouted gravely, from today onwards, our Justice Alliance will officially fire the first shot. Also, we welcome new comrades to join us. At such an exciting moment, we should go and do something. How about we grab some skewers? Wang Debao suggested. Qing Tiandi nodded, good idea. However, it's the first day of Chinese New Year, there shouldn't be any restaurants that are open, right? I know a restaurant that is open, the chicken wings there are very delicious. Qin Xuanzong said. Chapter 568. Feng Tian and Feng Di remained silent. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were already used to it, but Qin Xuanzong, who had just arrived, was not used to it. The weak are prey to the strong will naturally get it first. Qin Xuanzong said solemnly. Qing Tiandi patted onto Qin Xuanzong's shoulder and said earnestly, young man, your life is too short. If you were as long as me, you would understand. Seeing that Qin Xuanzong was unwilling to accept it, Qing Tiandi planned to use his own words to convince Qin Xuanzong, to let him understand that being long is very useful. The other four immediately ignored him. This Qin Xuanzong is going to be brainwashed again. Right now, the Cultivation World's Forum was in an uproar. The Righteous Alliance had really destroyed Shao Yi. And even insta-killed him. There is also a fellow who wore boxing gloves, and it seems like he was able to defeat Shao Yi as well. This is truly terrifying. That previous post was immediately dug out by someone, and the number of comments reached several tens of thousands. The moderator even added a gem to the post. Justice Alliance is too awesome. How do I join? I want to join too. My God, I want to join too, this is the place that I yearn for. That's right, Voidless Realm and Ing family don't care about anything, we might as well join this Justice Alliance. That's right, finally, a powerful organization stood out and ended this ridiculous monopoly. Only by joining the Justice Alliance can my life be guaranteed. I want to leave the South. I want to leave the North too. A large number of people who wanted to leave appeared on the Cultivation World's Forum. Qing Tiandi was very satisfied with everyone's attitude. This is the right choice, there is no need to rely on those two big powers. Should I learn more about Justice Alliance? Within Voidless Realm, Yi Hua and his two wives were also looking at the post on the Cultivation World's Forum, and they were a bit surprised. To Yi Hua, this Qing Tiandi is not bad, he has some brains. I can play with you a bit, bullying you with my strength is nothing, after all, we are all people who use brains. This Qing Tiandi is a schemer. Qingya said gravely while hugging onto her son who was sleeping soundly. Dong Wang Baiji was also hugging onto Ali, who was sleeping soundly, and said in a low voice, that's right, you exchanged Shao Yi for such a great value. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, this Shao Yi killed so many people, whoever acted to kill him would be a hero. Furthermore, the one who acted is an organization, and the one who instantly killed Shao Yi is even more so an organization. Furthermore, this person's attitude is very good and down to earth, it would be weird if he didn't jump ship. Dong Wang Baiji rolled her eyes at her husband, then why are you still making us wait? If Shao Yi is killed by us, wouldn't Voidless Realm's reputation become even greater? That's right. Qingya said lightly. With regards to her husband, she was very confused. Women, your hair is long, but your knowledge is short. Yihua said indifferently. He was very pleased with himself. I just like to bully my wife. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji immediately looked towards their husband. They seemed to be saying, try and teach us another lesson. Yihua stopped here and said softly, if we were to make a move, then what reason would they have to make a move? If they want to become famous, then we will give them a chance. Moreover, I'm afraid that Sky Pillar doesn't just need these. Then, what does he want? Qinya asked curiously. Yihua flicked away the ash on his cigarette, then took a puff and exhaled. The smoke lingered in the air, causing his two wives to wrinkle their brows. Some people like authority, some people like money, some people like supreme strength, and some people like to play. Hearing what her husband meant, Donghuang Baiji asked puzzledly, what kind of person is Sky Pillar? Play. This was what Qinya felt. Yihua nodded his head, this kind of person likes to be in control of the entire situation. They like the feeling of having everything in their hands, and they feel that this kind of person is very smart. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji simultaneously looked towards Yihua, seemingly to be saying, isn't this you? Cough, 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 what are you looking at? Be careful that I don't slap the two of you. Yihua's expression became stiff. When a tiger doesn't show off, do you think that I am a sick cat? The two of you are very arrogant and have even learned to talk back to me. The two women snorted and began to lecture Yihua again. Having a husband like this is also a kind of helplessness. From the looks of it, hubby, you already have a plan? Donghuang Baiji asked. Yihua extinguished the cigarette but, of course. Tell us, let us listen to your plan. Qinya was very curious, she wanted to hear what kind of plan her husband had come up with. Let nature take its course. Yihua said faintly, then stood up and walked back to his room to sleep, leaving his two wives to sit in the courtyard. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji went into a daze for a moment, then shouted out, Yihua, will you die if you don't act cool? I will. At a remote mountainous area, smoke was currently emitting out from the chimney of a small thatched cottage. A change of clothes was hung on a rope outside the thatched cottage, and there were a few old hens inside the cage. The light in the small thatched cottage was still on. My little darling, do you want to sleep? Long Outyen could be seen leaning onto Meng Meng's stomach, wanting to listen to the child's voice. Meng Meng had been pregnant for around 6 months. During this period of time, Long Outyen had been taking care of his wife attentively and didn't have any thoughts of going out. Outyen, there are still a few more months. Meng Meng said happily. Because she felt that Long Outyen didn't have any thoughts of going out, it seemed like he could stay here and accompany her. Long Outyen was very excited as he gestured with his hands, I am too excited. In a few more months, I will have a child, haha. Alright, don't be so excited every day. Meng Meng laughed lightly and stroked her sideburns. Long Outyen retracted his excited expression, I really want to tell the whole world about this and share the joy of this moment. But there are only us here. Meng Meng let out a breath. Long Outyen suddenly thought of something, there is one more. Is it that person who is chasing after you? Yesterday, on Chinese New Year's Eve, I asked you to come over and have a meal with me, but you didn't want to. In any case, that person has been chasing after you for half a year. Long Outyen, I will go out for a while first, I will be back soon. Be careful, if you can't win, just run back. Got it. Long Outyen ran madly. I haven't fought with that skeleton for a few months, I wonder if it is still there or not. I am coming. Long Outyen shouted out loudly. Swish. A black figure instantly appeared not far away from him, it was precisely Death Assassin. Death Assassin seemed to have been forgotten by everyone. Because Death Assassin had never completed this mission, he had always been guarding this place. Even on Chinese New Year's Eve, he was still leaning on a big tree and pondering about the future. Skeleton. My Dragon God technique is already at the 5th level. Today, let us properly play. Long Outyen's body trembled, and a burst of spiritual energy suddenly burst out from his body. Death Assassin looked at Long Outyen indifferently and let out a breath. GGG, Imperial Translation, Why Aren't You Dead Yet? Chapter 569. Death Mage was helpless and could only pull out his blade and attack. I'll dodge again, you can't hit me, this is the new clothes that Meng Meng gave me, bastard. Stop, I admit defeat, big brother, don't mess around, we can talk about it, actually, I came here today to chat with you. GGG, Imperial Translation, there's nothing to talk about, I can't kill you, I can only wait for you to die. After that, I can go back and report back. Seeing that the skeletons stopped attacking, Long Outyan let out a light sigh. In this godforsaken place, other than Meng Meng, there's only you, I can't even find someone to talk to. GGG. Imperial Translation, at least you have a woman to accompany you, I don't have anything at all. Long Outyan also felt that the skeleton wasn't here to kill him, but to trap him here. Thus, he wasn't that afraid. Sitting on the rock, he supported his back with both of his hands and looked at the starry sky. Let me tell you a good news, I'm going to be a father. Long Outyan said lightly. Death Assassin stood at the side and didn't speak. I still haven't thought of what to name my child, the name that Meng Meng thought of is too sissy, I feel that it should be more domineering. Skeleton, what do you think would be more domineering? That's right, you don't even know how to speak. Speaking of which, at least I have Meng Meng to accompany me, you don't even have anyone to accompany you, you are even more pitiful than me. Today is also the first day of Chinese New Year, do you want to go to my house to eat something? I also have chicken drumsticks, how about it? Hearing that there wasn't any movement behind him, Long Outyan turned his head around and saw that Death Assassin was nowhere to be seen. Letting out a deep sigh, Long Outyan walked back to his house. Death Assassin, who was not far away, looked at Long Outyan's back view and slowly sat down. Leaning against a big tree, he looked at the boundless starry sky. When will it end? I really miss the days in the past. Long Outyan, who returned to the small thatched cottage, shook his head. Outyan, that assassin isn't coming? Meng Meng asked. He might feel embarrassed. Meng Meng nodded her head, he is too pitiful. He has been guarding you for more than half a year, and he doesn't even have anyone to talk to. Yeah, forget it. Let's not talk about him. Let's go to sleep. Long Outyan's state of mind had indeed changed a lot. He was no longer as impetuous as he used to be. He had become more down-to-earth, and the idea of having multiple wives and concubines had disappeared with the birth of his child. His current life was the real deal. If Xiao Yi had the same thoughts as Long Ao Tian, he wouldn't have died so miserably. This Long Ao Tian was a big winner in life. He had a wife and a child, and he even had Death Mage as his sparring partner. However, if he wanted to leave the mountain, he would have to defeat the Death Mage first. However, being able to defeat the Death Mage, this Long Outyan was already very awesome. In the God's Realm's heavenly palace, two men dressed in ordinary clothes were walking on a lifeless street. Some of the shop doors were still open, but they were already covered in dust. A few months ago, this was a bustling street, but now it had become like this. Chief Steward Su, where do you think everyone is? Beside him was a man of medium build. His name was Wang Hong, and in front of him was Lingdu's inner minister, Su Shen. Su Shen silently sized them up, his expression was very grave. This battle should have happened outside the city, but the terrain outside the city had already changed beyond recognition. This should be a very powerful sovereign. Seeing that Chief Steward did not say anything, Wang Hong said again, even if these people died, they should have left behind a trace of blood. Chief Steward, look, even the teacups are still there, could it be that they evaporated? Actually, the two of them had already been in Heavenly Palace for a few days, and they had been collecting evidence. However, they did not manage to find anything. It seems like all the evidence had been erased. If there is no evidence to bring back this time, I'm afraid it will be hard to explain to Spirit Emperor. Su Shen lightly sighed. This time, Spirit Emperor had given a death order, they must definitely find out the cause of this matter. It would be good if there was a person involved, this group of people really did not let a single one of them off, they are trying to silence them. Wang Hong could not bear to see this. This imperial city has at least a few million people. This is too vicious. Indeed, extremely vicious. Su Shan nodded his head in agreement. Oh right, Chief Steward Su, these few days I also discovered a very strange matter. What matter? Chief Steward Su, please follow me. The two of them flew towards the horizon, heading towards the outside of the city. Chief Steward Su, look at this trace of fire coming from the horizon. Wang Hong said as he pointed towards the horizon. Didn't we already discuss this matter? It is the Inferno Abyssal Dragon. Su Shan said doubtfully. Wang Hong said gravely, that's right, it is indeed the Inferno Abyssal Dragon, but Chief Steward Su, look at the trace, I'm afraid that there is more than one of them. More than one? What proof do you have? Chief Steward Su, look below, although there are a lot of cracks, look at those claw marks. Su Shan's gaze narrowed, and he flew down with Wang Hong. This. Su Shan tightly knitted his brows, he was very puzzled. Wang Hong said gravely, Chief Steward Su, I am also very puzzled, the posture of the Inferno Abyssal Dragon is simply too strange, from the angle of the claw marks, and the number of them, there are a total of 3 of them, but they seem to be surrounding each other. Su Shan added. Wang Hong nodded his head. Then here comes the question, why are the 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons surrounding each other? Chief Steward Su, the origin of this Inferno Abyssal Dragon is not small, it is a prehistoric beast, even an overlord can't do anything to it, let alone a deity from a small place like this. But the strange thing is, the Inferno Abyssal Dragon only seems to be standing here and did not participate in the battle. Wang Hong was very vexed, he was unable to figure out the reason no matter how hard he racked his brains. The person who is able to control 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons must be very powerful. As for why the Inferno Abyssal Dragons did not participate in the battle, it should be because they were called over to intimidate. As for why they are surrounding each other, I really have no idea. Su Shan shook his head. This question was too hard to figure out. Chief Steward Su, this overlord is most likely very powerful, we should immediately go back and report to Spirit Emperor, we must not provoke him. 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons are completely capable of destroying the entire Spirit City. Unless over 10 overlords come to suppress him together. Hearing that, Su Shan sunk into contemplation. Right now, I can only go back and report to Spirit Emperor that this overlord is very powerful, able to even call over the Inferno Abyssal Dragons. But just which overlord is this powerful? A beep suddenly rang out. Su Shan took out the jade slip and looked at it. His face was instantly filled with shock and even fear. Chief Steward Su, what happened? Seeing Chief Steward Su's expression, Wang Hong definitely knew that something big had happened. Su Shan put away the jade slip and said in a deep voice, Supreme Fa Lien was killed. His void land was also burned by a fire, and it was Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire. Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire? Isn't that Supreme Yuan Yang's ultimate move? Wang Hong was also shocked. Supreme Yuan Yang killed Supreme Fa Lien? Oh my god. How is this possible? Chapter 570. Yi Hua wouldn't release Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire for no reason. In actuality, he could have directly killed Sovereign Fa Lien, and Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire was meant to frame him. After all, Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire was one of a kind, even if that Sovereign Yuan Yang had more than 10 mouths, he wouldn't be able to explain it clearly. We have to quickly return to Lingdu, something big is going to happen. Su Shan's expression tensed up. Sovereign killing sovereigns is incredible, if the sovereign's nature is bad, then everyone will be killed, just like that battle 5 years ago. The two didn't think too much and immediately disappeared from where they stood. A conspiracy that came from Yi Hua is going to attack God's realm. Framing others, Yi Hua is playing very well right now. On the morning of the 2nd day of Chinese New Year, Yi Hua heard the report from Brett. I didn't expect that Voidless Realm's target is actually Voidless Realm. Interesting, what a bold idea. Toward such a matter, Yi Hua wished for them to come earlier, but he felt that they might not be able to come. Should I give them some motivation? Yi Hua, let's go. Qinya carried her son and walked over. To where? Of course, to go to my father-in-law's place. Aren't we supposed to return to our parents' place on the second day of Chinese New Year? To be honest, Yi Hua didn't want to go to his father-in-law's place at all. Looking at her husband's unwilling look, Qinya still doesn't know that Yi Hua's identity is right there, even I can't do anything about it. But no matter what, they are still my parents. Yi Hua, I am just going to take a seat, there is no need for you to give me a red packet. Yi Hua, is this a problem with the red packet? Do I look like such a petty person? Hubby, Qinya begged. Speaking of which, my parents have only met Yi Hua once, and that time was very unpleasant. Now that the child has already been born, there shouldn't be anything to say, right? Go. Yi Hua said gravely. This human custom is truly troublesome. After Baiji's child is born, I will consider going back too. So obedient, let me reward you, Qinya kissed Yi Hua. However, Yi Hua didn't just want to kiss her. The little fellow laid in his mother's embrace and looked at his parents' actions with his big eyes filled with curiosity. The two of them returned to Leisure Bar, and woke up Qin Yutong, who was sleeping soundly. Going back to Leisure Bar by plane was a bit slow, so it was better to directly return to Leisure Bar. Aya, my little nephew, let Aunt hug you. You're so handsome. Qin Yutong carried Yi Yan into her bosom, and the little fellow was a little unhappy, because this aunt of his keeps pinching his face. So Yi Yan reached out to his mother and squeaked. Little guy, you're not even willing to let your aunt hug you. Be careful that you don't get a girlfriend in the future. When Yi Yan saw how fierce his aunt was, he immediately burst into tears. Qinya took a glare at her little sister, then hugged onto her son and coaxed him. Yi Hua, who was at the side, said gravely, "What are boys crying for? If I see you cry again, I'll lock you up." Yi Yan immediately stopped crying, but he did not dare to look at his father. I have only been out for a day, and I don't even have the right to cry anymore. She felt that her father was super nice to her sister, but he was extremely fierce to her. It was as if she was a gift for topping up her phone. Yi Hua, it hasn't even been 2 days since Yan arrived, can't you speak properly? Qinya was trying her best to protect her son, not letting Yi Hua bully her son. The little fellow needs to be educated since he was young. That doesn't mean that he should be taught like this, can't he be a little more patient? Qinya persuaded, hoping that Yi Hua would not be so fierce towards his son. Yi Hua was angry towards his son. After all, the main culprit that scared Yi Hua quite badly that night was this little fellow. Qin Yutong did not say anything at the side. It is better for me to not interrupt this kind of topic. Arriving at the door of his father-in-law's house, Yi Hua was empty-handed. He did not bring anything with him. I, the Supreme Overlord, have already given enough face by coming here, and you still want to bring things? I, the Supreme Overlord, have never brought anything with me. A few gift boxes could be seen appearing in Qinya's hands. Yi Hua, take them. Qin Yutong, who was at the side, said, "Brother-in-law, just take them and put them in, just put them in." Yi Hua felt that he was going to go crazy. Baiji is still the best, she doesn't even have any elders. Taking a deep breath, Yi Hua said gravely, "Just this once." All right, just this once." Qinya spoiled Yi Hua. If it was any other woman, they would have already gotten angry at him. Holding on to the gift boxes with both hands, Qin Yutong pressed on the doorbell. The one who came out to open the door was still Uncle Fu. "The two misses have returned, Mr. is also back. Is this the young master?" When Uncle Fu saw Yi Yan, he cried out in surprise. Qinya laughed, "Uncle Fu, Happy New Year, this is my son, Yi Yan." "It really is the young master, quickly come in, the madams will definitely be very happy." Because Qinya was carrying the child, Qin Yutong prepared slippers for brother-in-law. This scene made Uncle Fu recall the scene from that day. Just that, he became the second miss. How can this man be so awesome? Yi Hua, who was holding on to the gift boxes, followed behind, appearing a bit unnatural. Walking into the living room, Qin Huaxian saw that his two daughters had returned, and he was happy in his heart. However, when he saw Yi Hua, who was at the back, that happy expression of his immediately collapsed. Seeing Qin Huashuan's attitude, Yihua did not pay attention to him. Yeah, this is? Zihan suddenly stood up and looked at the child who was in her daughter's embrace. With a smile on her face, Qin said, Mom, this is my son, Yi Yan. Aya, quickly let Mom take a look. You already gave birth to the child, why didn't you give us a call? Zihan carefully took over Yi Yan. However, not long later, Yi Yan started crying loudly. That heart-wrenching cry was as if he was going to die soon. Wang Muqing, who was at the side, took over Yi Yan and tried, but who knew that it was also useless. In the end, Wang Muqing still handed Yi Yan over to Qinya. Just when Yi Yan entered Qinya's embrace, he instantly stopped crying. Yihua looked at his son's gaze and praised. Brat, you did well. Seeing his father's praising gaze, the corner of the little fellow's mouth curved up. Then, he hid in his mother's embrace and refused to come out, because his mother's embrace was too warm. Qin Huaxian looked at the gift box in Yihua's hand and was also filled with disdain. My Qin family is no longer the same as before. Right now, I am also a reputable person in Zijin City. Back then when I went to see the Empress, everything that I did after that was smooth sailing. As for Qinya, her change was really too big. No one knew that she was Qin Huashuan's daughter, and furthermore, both father and daughter did not appear in public at the same time, so no one knew at all. If other people were to know that Qinya's father was Qin Huaxian, that would really be terrible. Qin Huashuan's vanity would definitely go berserk. Chapter 571. Yihua, sit. Qinya said softly. Seeing that her husband's expression was not very good, she reckoned that it was because of her father. Her father did not know of Yihua's identity and thought that he was just a bar's boss. It was unavoidable for him to look down on Yihua. After all, I am too perfect, I am so beautiful, and I am also so rich. Sigh, beauty is also a kind of sin. If not for giving face to his wife and sister-in-law, just by looking at Qin Huashuan's expression, Yihua would have already turned around and left. When have I, the Supreme Overlord, been looked down upon like this? Which one of them wasn't trembling in fear under my feet? Slowly sitting down, Yihua still did not say a word. This caused Qin Huaxian and the others to be very unhappy. At least greet him. From the moment he walked in, he did not speak. How can this be? Could it be that you are waiting for the elders to greet you? Qin Huaxian must let this man know that Qin family is very powerful right now. Xiao Yi, are you still running a bar? Qin Huaxian leaned on the comfortable sofa and asked curiously. Xiao Yi? Yihua was immediately stupefied. Qinya and Qin Yutong were also extremely shocked. A supreme overlord was actually called Xiao Yi by an ordinary person. This is something that has never happened before. Right now, Yihua felt as if he was going to explode. If not for Qinya's father, this person would have already disappeared by now. To actually be so rude to me. Xiao Yi. Yihua was so angry that he almost suffered an internal injury. Qinya, who was at the side, secretly held onto Yihua's hand. Don't be angry, father didn't do it on purpose. With his wife's consolation, Yihua felt a bit better. Seeing that Yihua's expression was very bad, Qin Huaxian was very satisfied. Compared to my Qin family, that little bar of yours is really nothing. I can make you close down in just a few minutes. Xiao Yi, business is not good these days. How much money can a bar earn? If you really can't do it, you can go and help out at Qinya's company. Qin Huaxian said very seriously. Now that I already have a child, there is no other way. Although this man is a bit lacking, if I teach him properly, he will still have a future. Luckily, Qin Huaxian did not say such words, if not Yihua would definitely explode. However, it is more or less the same now. To actually say that I can earn a bit of money, and even want me to go and work at my wife's company. Dad, it is quite good for Yihua to open a bar, there is no need for that. Qinya hurriedly mediated the situation and told her dad to stop talking about it, if not, Yihua would definitely quarrel with her. But how could Qin Huaxian understand his daughter's meaning? Furthermore, seeing how his daughter was defending a man like this, he became even angrier. Xiao Yi, life is not that easy. There are a lot of things that young people like you two simply do not understand. This world is also not as simple as the two of you think. After finished speaking, Qin Huaxian actually displayed the sitting posture of a big shot. Why does Yihua feel that this sitting posture is very similar to mine? When Qin Yutong heard what her father said, she had a hard time enduring it. Father is actually acting cool in front of brother-in-law, ha ha ha. It was too funny. Qinya also had a helpless look on her face. What should I do now? My father is actually getting complacent. Suddenly, an idea came to Qinya's mind. As long as I coax Yihua, everything will be fine. Thus, Qinya secretly sent a message to Yihua. What? Yihua asked coldly. Hubby, don't be angry, my dad didn't do it on purpose. Qinya pleaded. Yihua snorted. If it was on purpose, I, the Supreme Overlord, would have flipped out long ago. Hubby, don't be angry, I will properly serve you tonight. What else could Qinya do? She could only give Yihua what he wanted the most. As expected, after hearing Qinya's promise, Yihua's anger dissipated by quite a bit. Any position is fine. As long as you don't get angry, it's up to you. Alright, you are the one who said it. I said it. Qinya was helpless. However, it is fine as long as I coax my husband. Ever since Donghuang Baiji announced that she was pregnant, Yihua had been living a simple life, which was too horrible to look at. Right now, Qinya took the initiative to woo him, causing Yihua's mood to become very good. The gaze that Yihua looked at Qin Huaxian with also became a lot friendlier, seemingly saying, your daughter is not bad, to be able to serve me very comfortably. Oh. Is there anything else that I don't know? Yihua began asking along with Qin Huaxian's words. To act cool in front of me. Only you are still alive. Qin Huaxian laughed, seemingly laughing at Yihua's ignorance. However, the current Yihua didn't care about it, he just wished for this night to arrive faster. I have endured for more than a month, and I am already about to explode. There are some things that are useless even if I tell you. I am afraid of scaring you youngsters. Pfft. Qin Yutong finally couldn't take it anymore and laughed out loud while hugging onto her stomach. Dad, can you not be so funny? Don't you know that boasting in front of the Supreme Overlord is very embarrassing? Qinya also laughed out loud. It's fine if my husband likes to act cool, but now, even my father has fallen in love with him. I hope that my son doesn't have to study and just become a scientist in the future. Wang Muqing patted onto her daughter petulantly. Yutong, what are you laughing at when your father is talking to you? Nothing much, I just thought of a very funny thing and couldn't help but laugh. While speaking, Qin Yutong laughed even louder. However, in Qin Huaxian's eyes, Qin Yutong's smile looked as if Qin Yutong did not believe in him, and Qin Yutong felt as if he was lying to them. Yihua said faintly, I have never been scared before. Why don't you tell me if you are able to scare me or not? All right. Then, I shall let you youngsters gain some experience. Qin Huaxian's eyebrows straightened as he shouted out solemnly. This caused Qin Yutong to laugh to the point that she couldn't breathe. Yutong, you are too impolite. Wang Muqing lectured her own daughter. Qin Yutong finally couldn't hold it in anymore and was prepared to listen to how her father was going to scare people. Qin Huaxian glared at his daughter, then said gravely, in this world, there is a group of people who know magic, formidable right? The kind that can fly to the sky and dive into the earth, hee hee. Looking at Qin Huaxian's serious look, Yihua and the others were a bit surprised. Such a small matter, and it was turned into a big matter by your expression, not bad. Qin Huaxian was very satisfied with this expression. It seems like my words had already subdued these youngsters. Just this north of mine, there are a lot of powers that exist. My Qing family can also be considered as a mainstay. Pfft. This time, even Qinya started laughing out loud. Seeing that her big sister couldn't hold it in anymore, Qin Yutong also started laughing out loud. Dad is too good at acting. When did Qing family become a mainstay? You must be lying to a child, this is too exaggerated, right? Right now, Qing family can basically not be counted as a family at all, because Qing Huaxian doesn't know anything, thus, he can't be selected. Looking at the attitude of his two daughters, Qing Huaxian was very angry and said gravely, "Do you guys know? I am the strongest person that I have ever seen in the north. Empress. Do you know what is an empress? She controls the entire north's powers, and with a single sentence, she is able to change a person's fate. What do you youngsters know? Ha 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 ha. Asking for tickets." Chapter 572. Qinya and Qin Yutong were about to cramp up from laughing, even Yihua had a trace of a smile on his face. This Qinya's father is too funny. It seems that the last time when Baiji came over for the big meeting, because she met Qin Yutong like this, her entire person became inflated to the sky. Indeed, ever since Qing Huaxian met the Empress, he went around flaunting his glorious history, and the Empress especially gave him face. The people who were at the scene back then also felt a little bit, and adding on to Qin Huaxuan's words, they had no choice but to believe him. Thus, their attitude towards Qin Huaxian changed 180 degrees. What are you laughing at? I still have evidence here. Qin Huaxian said gravely. This youngster actually doesn't believe me. Evidence? Yihua and the others went into a daze for a moment. They were very curious about what evidence it was. Dad, let me take a look at the Empress that you are talking about. Qin Yutong asked, but her smile became even wider. Dad has changed. Qin Huaxian took out his phone and found a photo. Look, this is a photo of me and the Empress. A photo? Yihua and Qinya were very surprised. I don't remember taking a photo with the Empress that day. Could it be that the photo was taken privately? Donghuang Baiji doesn't seem to have mentioned it before, right? Qin Yutong took the photo over, and Yihua and Qinya looked over as well. In the photo, Donghuang Baiji could be seen standing leisurely, and Qin Huaxian was respectfully standing at the side. However, if one were to take a closer look, the Donghuang Baiji in the photo looked a bit strange, as if the photo was photoshopped. Qinya felt very helpless. My dad actually used this kind of photo to bluff me. In actuality, Qin Huaxian wasn't bluffing, he just felt that it was very glorious for him to have met the Empress, and thus he asked someone to photoshop a photo to prove that he was someone who had met the Empress before. Yeah, look at you, if you have even half of her elegance, your father will be at ease. Qin Huaxian sighed lightly. My daughter's appearance is on par with the Empress, but in terms of temperament, she is a bit inferior. After hearing that, Yihua immediately laughed. Well said. Qinya, did you hear that? Learn more from the Empress. Yihua patted on Qinya's shoulder and teased. Speaking of aura, Donghuang Baiji was indeed a notch higher than Qinya. Back then, the two women had also displayed their aura in front of Yihua. Donghuang Baiji's aura was very big, while Qinya's aura did not have that kind of aura. Qinya was that kind of gentle and beautiful type, even if she had a straight face, it would not have that kind of strong effect. On the other hand, Donghuang Baiji was different. When Donghuang Baiji put on a straight face, she looked very scary. However, when Donghuang Baiji smiled, Donghuang Baiji seemed like a completely different person. Yihua had even secretly asked the Empress to put on a straight face, and then, it felt really good. Qinya glared at Yihua petulantly. I have been using this matter to tease myself quite a bit. Yihua's attitude made Qin Huaxian a bit unhappy. I am teaching my daughter, what are you interrupting for? Little Yi, you have to change too. Yeah, is so outstanding, you have to become even more outstanding. Qinya felt great in her heart. This is what a father should be like. Yihua, did you hear that? You have to become even more outstanding. Qinya launched a counterattack, causing Yihua to be very displeased. Am I not outstanding? In this entire world, I am unable to find another man who is as outstanding as me. Yihua did not say anything. I'll just quietly listen to you two bragging. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not going to bother with you two today. Qin Huaxian let out a light sigh. Actually, it's also good if it's a bit more ordinary. It's better for us to not get involved in that kind of world too much. The competition is too serious, and I'm afraid that if I were to say it out, I'm afraid that I would scare you all. Yi Hua and the others did not say anything. All right, it's better for me to tell you two so that you two can be a bit more vigilant. Qin Huaxian was unable to contain himself. Do you think that if you don't say anything, I won't scare you too? Don't be so childish, all right? I heard that during this period of time, both the North and the South are not safe, especially the North where a lot of people have died. You two have to pay attention, don't get dragged into the matter. Qin Huaxian suddenly thought of something and asked gravely, Qinya, Yutong, how did the two of you get dragged into the matter of those big shots? Last time, the Empress even asked me about this matter. The two of you better explain it to me clearly. Just what exactly happened that night? This matter had been bothering Qin Huaxian for a long time. Luckily, the Empress did not pursue the matter that night. Although it was a bit strange, it was also a good thing. If the Empress were to pursue the matter, Qin family would be in trouble. In actuality, it was useless to ask about it now. Yi Xiao was already dead, and his son and the medical saint were still standing at the side of the small road like a tree. Qin Yutong explained, Dad, that night, that medical saint's song brought us to participate in the auction, but in the end, he ran away by himself, causing Big Sister and I to be very embarrassed. He is truly shameless. And then, did you see anything else? Qin Huaxian questioned. Qin Yutong was a movie empress, her acting skills were top-notch. Qin Yutong shook her head hesitantly. Qin Huaxian felt that it was true. My two daughters are so obedient, they don't even dare to kill a chicken, so why would they go and kill a person? This is too unreal. And this man, I reckon that he doesn't even dare to hold a knife. He is so weak. After finish asking this question, Zihan also began asking. You two have already given birth to your child, and you two have also gotten your marriage certificate. When do you two plan to hold the wedding? Wedding? If not for her mother mentioning it, Qinya would have almost forgotten that Yi Hua still owed her a wedding. Yi Hua had also completely forgotten about it. I indeed still owe Qinya a wedding. Qinya hugged onto her son and said a bit angrily, Ask him. Everyone looked towards Yi Hua. This Qinya, she is definitely angry with me again. In actuality, Yi Hua wanted to give them an unprecedented wedding, and not this kind of ordinary and completely meaningless wedding. Right now, not only do I have to give Qinya's family an explanation, I also have to give Qinya an explanation. Rest assured, there will definitely be a wedding. Everyone nodded their heads. A man should take responsibility. After hearing that, Qinya was also very happy. As long as Yi Hua promised, he would definitely fulfill his promise in the future. Although it was no longer just a single person's wedding, Qinya was already relieved. For such a powerful man like Yi Hua, it was normal for him to have two women, but it was impossible for him to have one more. Following that, everyone chatted about their daily lives, and Yi Hua's attitude seemed to have been accepted. And what else could they do even if they didn't accept it? However, everyone's muzzle turned towards Qin Yutong. Yutong, your big sister already has a child now. When do you plan to settle your personal problem? As Qin Yutong's mother, Wang Muqing was also very anxious. However, Qin Yutong had an indifferent attitude and even said, It's fine, brother-in-law will help me look for one, he already promised me. In her heart, she was thinking, my but is already brother-in-law's, who else am I going to look for? In this lifetime, I will just hug brother-in-law's thigh and not let go. Qin Huaxian had to dispel this idea of his daughters. What kind of people can the bar boss know? All of them are just some unimportant people. Chapter 573. No, I'm not going to go on a blind date, I'm going upstairs to sleep, bye-bye. After finished speaking, Qin Yutong ran upstairs. Wang Muqing let out a light sigh, feeling very helpless. Yeah, Properly persuade your sister, don't always be like this. In a few years' time, she will be in her 30s, at that time, no one will want her anymore. Zihan said gravely. Qinya laughed lightly, with Yutong's looks. Are you afraid that you won't be able to find her? Yihua, don't you think so? That's right. Yihua nodded his head, feeling that there was a hidden meaning behind Qinya's words. Everyone helplessly shook their heads. Regarding Qin Yutong's personal problems, they were also having a headache. Our daughter is so beautiful, what if other people covet her beauty? Thinking about it, I really don't feel at ease. At 9 p.m., Yihua and Qinya returned to the room. Qinya was carrying her son with her back facing Yihua and was currently feeding the child. Yihua took out a red packet, opened it and counted it. This family is quite generous, I quite like them. This is the first time I have seen a check inside a red packet, interesting, as expected of a rich family. Just as Yihua was sighing with emotion, a small hand instantly snatched over the check. They are quite generous, they even gave you a big red packet. Qinya looked at the red packet with a smile and even blinked her beautiful eyes at Yihua. The little fellow, Yi Yan, had eaten his fill and was sleeping peacefully. Yihua's brows wrinkled. What are you doing? Give it to me, this is mine. Humph, I'm not giving it to you, this man will become bad when he has money. Qinya mercilessly took away the check, not giving Yihua any private money. Yihua also mercilessly hugged onto Qinya's body. Where did you hear such crooked logic from? What, only you are allowed to have crooked logic, but I am not allowed to have crooked logic. Qinya said, her tone carried a hint of acting coquettishly, causing Yihua's heart to thump. This Qinya is truly becoming more and more enchanting, every single action of hers is emitting out a different kind of charm. Today, you promised me, all kinds of positions. Yihua said lightly, he was already unable to hold himself back anymore. Qinya's face turned red, our son is still asleep, next time. Hee hee. I will not allow you to do it again. Yihua sneered, then carried Qinya and disappeared from the room, arriving at the bedroom on the second floor. Qinya hurriedly said, our son is still on the bed, don't worry about him. No one can hurt our son. After saying that, she kissed him, appearing very greedy. It had been a very long time since Qinya and Yihua had gotten intimate with each other. The fire within the two's heart was instantly ignited, and the two of them fell onto the big bed, crazily enjoying the pleasure within. Only when it was 3 a.m. in the morning did the two of them return back to Qin family. Qinya was completely exhausted, to the point that she didn't even want to move her fingers. Yihua was still clearly very excited, and he was completely unable to fall asleep. Furthermore, he even had the feeling of wanting to continue. It was a pity that Qinya's battle power was not good enough. Should he seek out the Empress to resolve this matter? However, after thinking about it, he decided not to. It was already too late. Even if he went, the Empress would not allow it. It was impossible to communicate with a pregnant woman. Leaning on the bed, Yihua looked at his wife and son, and he was very satisfied with the current situation. If it wasn't for the fact that I have yet to take revenge, it would be good for me to continue living like this. Gradually, Yihua sunk into contemplation. Last year, a lot of things happened, and the people in the cultivation world also suffered heavy losses. Of course, this was not my fault, it was all because of them killing each other, or maybe they were just asking for it. I just slightly provoked them, that's all. However, no matter what, I am still able to see the big picture, and it will be helpful for my future battles. However, here comes the problem. After losing so many cultivators, where am I going to go to make up for the lack of cultivators? With less people, the game doesn't seem to be fun anymore. The power of the entire cultivation world has fallen too much, and this is something that I didn't expect. How am I going to pull up the number of cultivators? This is a problem. Furthermore, that Justice and Order Alliance or whatever, I reckon that they want to form their own faction. I, the Supreme Overlord, should grant them a wish. How am I going to increase the number of cultivators? Yihua's brain quickly pondered. Earth's spiritual energy has dried up, causing ordinary people to be unable to sense it at all, and the powerful cultivators were able to absorb the meager amount of spiritual energy, causing the state of lacking spiritual energy. If I am able to envelop the entire world with spiritual energy, then a large number of cultivators will appear. Yihua felt that this idea was not bad. Cultivating is to strengthen one's body, and one's lifespan will also increase. Humans, you all should really be thankful for my benevolent heart. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. He had already decided on what to do. Yihua left a mirror image on the bed to prevent it from being discovered by Qinya. Some things still have to be done secretly. I, the Supreme Overlord, never leave my name behind when doing good deeds, and even if I leave my name behind, it would only be a bad name. Right now, Yihua had arrived 10,000 meters above the ground and was looking down at the entire world. As long as Yihua willed it, Sunfall Heavenly Fire would be able to turn the entire world into a sea of flames. Yihua's hands could be seen condensing a huge amount of spiritual pressure, and the entire sky seemed to be trembling. At this moment, a lot of people felt that a terrifying amount of spiritual energy was slowly condensing, and some of them even thought that it was the end of the world. Because, a spiritual pressure like this wasn't something that a human would be able to withstand. Yihua laughed lightly, you all should really be thankful to me. I am the one who granted you all longevity and health. Of course, there is also death and despair, it all depends on how you all choose. Spiritual energy shall awaken. Along with Yihua's hands clenching, the huge amount of spiritual pressure in his hands exploded, forming a lump of white spiritual energy that enveloped the entire world. After doing all that, Yihua disappeared from the sky. Hugging onto his wife and son, he went to sleep. I am really curious about how the world will be like tomorrow. I am really so excited. However, right now, it was raining heavily outside, and of course, there was also the boundless spiritual energy that was lingering in the air. That dense spiritual energy was currently changing their physique. Even if they don't cultivate, their lifespan would still be doubled, and their immune system would also be very strong. Thus, it was impossible for them to catch a cold. Of course, to the cultivation world, all of this could be counted as good, but overall speaking, it was still not good. To them, this amount of spiritual energy was already enough. No matter how much spiritual energy they were given, it would be useless. The more spiritual energy is, the more precious it is. This logic was known to everyone. Right now, with how abundant spiritual energy was, wouldn't it mean that everyone would be able to cultivate? If that was the case, where would the status of the cultivation world be? For a special existence to return back to its ordinary state, wasn't this just asking for people's lives? Indeed, this move of Yihua's made the people in the cultivation world very vexed. Even the most ordinary cultivator would be respected and worshipped by others, but right now, that was something that couldn't be any more normal. Who would still worship him? However, to the powerful cultivators, this was still a good thing, because more people would respect them, and they wouldn't have to follow the rules set by the big shots, and they would be able to openly walk on the streets of the city. In just one night, Yihua had once again disrupted the situation in the cultivation world. Chapter 574. Winner. Jingshan had long walked out of his room and was currently looking at the sky with his brows tightly knitted. Why did spiritual energy suddenly recover? How did this happen? Also, what's with that huge spiritual pressure? Could it be a supreme overlord? If it really is a supreme overlord, then isn't this too powerful? To be able to cause spiritual energy to recover with just a raise of his hand, this is terrifying. However, whether this spiritual energy recovery is a good thing or a bad thing, Jingshan doesn't know, but he has a feeling that it isn't a good thing. Meanwhile, in Voidless Realm, Dongwang Baiji was also startled awake by that terrifying spiritual pressure, and even though there was a barrier, she could still feel it. This spiritual energy recovery is too strange and too sudden. There are no signs at all, and who is the one who released that terrifying spiritual pressure? Is it a human or the heavens? Dongwang Baiji immediately thought of her husband. Could it be Yihua? It can't be. Is he that powerful? Tomorrow, I will ask Qinya and find out. However, regarding this spiritual energy recovery, Dong Huang Baiji also didn't know how to deal with it, because the situation changed too quickly, and she didn't even have the time to prepare. Within Wang family's villa in Harbor City, the people from Justice Alliance also felt it. So powerful, is this the doing of a human, or something else? Wang Debao looked at the sky and muttered. Feng Tian also revealed a shocked expression. That spiritual pressure just now caused me to be unable to breathe, and it exploded in an instant, causing boundless spiritual energy to fall along with the rain. Just what is going on? God supporting heaven looked at the sky and didn't say a word. With regards to the current situation, I feel that this should be a good thing. Qin Xuanzong said faintly. With the spiritual energy recovery, a large number of cultivators will appear, and when that time comes, will there still be a lack of people? Bai Cixin felt that it was the same. Strength can only be displayed when there are more people. God supporting heaven let out a light sigh. The spiritual energy recovery this time messed up all of my plans. Is this man-made or is it a random variable? God supporting heaven can't be sure. From the looks of it, Yihua won the first round of brainpower competition and completely messed up God supporting heaven's plan. Since the spiritual energy has recovered, then let us follow the will of the heavens and thoroughly spread the influence of Justice Alliance. Gather all the heroes in the world. Qing Tian shouted as his confidence returned. Everyone couldn't help but nod their heads. God supporting heaven's expression gradually calmed down, and he asked curiously, will Meituan deliver on the second night of the new year? Everyone, within Long and City's winery, currently, Zhou Yi wasn't asleep at all. On the contrary, he was excitedly standing under the heavy rain, and his expression was a bit strange. He looked like he was nervous, but also seemed like he was excited. After a long time, Lord Zhou finally calmed down. He raised his head slightly and looked towards the sky. God, you finally opened your eyes. Is this the smell of spiritual qi? I, Lord Zhou, have finally made a comeback. Ha 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 ha. Lord Zhou ran madly under the torrential rain, as if he had gone mad. He arrived under a big tree, and Lord Zhou placed his palm on it. A burst of blue light scanned it. The ground beside them suddenly caved in, revealing a flight of stairs. A row of lights instantly lit up. Lord Zhou walked down the stairs. After walking for about 10 meters, Lord Zhou arrived at his own secret room and clapped his hands. The voice-activated lights were all turned on. If there was someone here, they would definitely be stunned by the things that Lord Zhou had collected. Lord Zhou had worked for various masters, and all the rewards he had received were all here. Lord Zhou had thought that he would never be able to use them in this lifetime, because some things needed to be powered by spiritual energy. Now that the spiritual energy had recovered and he had the strength, these treasures could finally be put to use. Lord Zhou could be seen admiring his treasures and casually picking up an ancient sword. Lord Zhou coldly snorted. Ancient godly item, Lord Zhou, have no interest in it. There were even fragments of ancient godly items, spiritual herbs, and so on placed at the side. These were all rewards given by Lord Zhou's previous masters. This also showed that Lord Zhou's previous masters were indeed valiant. They could casually give out such good things. This lord also chooses his masters. Do you think that anyone can be my master? You are thinking too much. In the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean, Qi Shuwen had transformed into a small golden dragon and was currently devouring all kinds of fishes. When will this end? I have a huge debt. Luckily, I obtained the longevity fruit, or else I would have suffered a huge loss. I originally wanted to get first place, but Xian Ba is really too valiant. Just as Qi Shuwen was lamenting, he suddenly felt a sense of danger coming from behind him. He immediately used Divine Dragon Tail Whip. The seawater suddenly boiled, and Qi Shuwen blankly stared at the strange creature in front of him. What the F***ck is this fish? Why does it have 2 heads and legs? Its body is actually so huge. Why have I never seen it before? Qi Shuwen was stunned. The unknown creature in front of him made Qi Shuwen dumbfounded. Following the system's feedback, this fish was very valuable. Swallowing it could be exchanged for a huge amount of dragon energy. However, this fish seemed to look down on Qi Shuwen, this small golden dragon, and actually swam over. How could Qi Shuwen let go of such a good opportunity? He hurriedly chased after it. Gradually, he disappeared into the darkness at the bottom of the sea. However, in less than half a minute, a small golden dragon could be seen frantically running away, followed by a group of the same kind of fish. When Qi Shuwen was running away, suddenly there was a loud noise, and a large piece of darkness enveloped Qi Shuwen. Qi Shuwen raised his head to look, and he was so scared that his scalp went numb. What the hell is this? A giant whale that was several hundred meters long appeared above their heads. It immediately opened its bloody mouth, revealing rows of gleaming silver teeth that caused people to shudder. In a single mouthful, he had eaten those strange fishes just now. Qi Shuwen's mind was already stupefied. Since when was a whale able to swim so deep into the water, and also so long and so huge? With a panicked expression, Qi Shuwen felt that he had to hurry back home. However, on the way home, Qi Shuwen saw a lot of strange creatures, and he was scared to the point of shivering. Have you ever seen a tank-sized crayfish before? Damn it, all of them have mutated. Xianba lived in Yangshan City, and right now, he was also blankly looking at the heavy rain. Teacher, just what is going on? Xianba asked blankly as he sensed the rich spiritual energy around him. Feng Lao said faintly, someone opened the door of spiritual energy, this person is so terrifying. Let's not go and provoke that person then. Xianba, right now, the spiritual energy is abundant, train properly, the current situation is beneficial to us. Master, I understand, you can be at ease, alright, I will definitely train properly. Xianba nodded his head. This is my chance, the god bestowed me with such a strong spiritual energy, it is all for me to rise up. At this very moment, all kinds of caves appeared in the remote mountainous area, the low roar of monsters rang out in the dark forest, and the wild tiger's body instantly became huge, becoming even more bloodthirsty. Chapter 575. This was the revival of spirit energy. Humans were improving, and so were all the animals. On the Pacific Ocean, a luxurious cruise ship was sailing in the darkness. The light it emitted was very unique, like a candle in the dark. In the cockpit, a few crew members were checking the data to make sure it was safe. The cabin door was suddenly pushed open, and a foreigner in pajamas walked in. Captain. 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 The captain, who was wearing a thick cotton jacket, glanced around. Is everything safe? Report, everything is safe. The captain nodded and felt relieved. This was his last voyage. After this, he would retire. He couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Beep, beep, beep. At this time, the radar suddenly sounded, which surprised everyone. There shouldn't be anything else in this area of the sea. Could it be another ship? The crew immediately checked, and when they saw what was displayed on the radar, they were dumbfounded. What's wrong? The captain asked. The frequency of the radar warning grew faster and faster, as if they were about to collide. The captain panicked and hurriedly ran over, pushing his crew aside. He placed his hands on the radar and focused his gaze. His pupils immediately dilated. Leida's shadow indicated that a huge monster was rapidly approaching. What is this? The captain exclaimed. All the crew members were at a loss. Just as everyone was panicking, the ship shook violently. The huge creature was at the bottom of the ship. The captain hurriedly ran out and stood on the deck. Then, they could see that the sea was boiling, and they could vaguely see a giant creature swimming. God, what is this thing? The old captain was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat, and his face was filled with horror. Captain. Oh no, the cabin is flooded. The captain frowned and walked in again, shouting, "Close the gate. Call for help. Yes. The captain looked at the dark sea again. At this time, the sea was calm, as if it had never appeared. On the morning of the third day of Chinese New Year, the sun was bright and beautiful, and the warm sunlight shone into the bedroom through the window. Qinya could be seen snuggling into Yi Hua's embrace, and the little fellow, Yi Yan, was actually crawling onto his father's chest, and saliva was even flowing out from the corner of his mouth. Why are you still sleeping? Something happened. Dong Wang Baiji's figure suddenly appeared beside the bed. Yi Hua slowly opened his eyes and saw his son, as well as the saliva at the corner of his son's mouth. My God, why is he the same as his mother, loves to drool, Qinya moaned a few times, then opened her beautiful eyes. Baiji, you came so early in the morning. Yi Yan also opened his eyes at this time. Seeing his father's fierce gaze, he was so frightened that he threw himself into his mother's arms. Look at this saliva, it is all inherited from you. Yi Hua pointed at the saliva on the pajamas and said helplessly. Qinya snorted, he is still your son. The hell, are the two of you even listening to what I'm saying? Dong Huang Baiji was very speechless. Why are the two of you still discussing about saliva now? Qinya sat up and asked, what happened? Just take a look outside and you will understand. Dong Huang Baiji said. While yawning, Qinya carried her son and opened the window. After that, he went into a daze, and he even rubbed his eyes as if he had seen a ghost. What a big bird. Qinya muttered. A giant magpie was flying in the sky, like a Boeing 747 flying at low altitude. Yi Hua stood at the side and looked at the magpie. F***K, is the revival of spiritual energy able to cause a bird to become so big? What kind of situation is this? Qinya was very puzzled and completely didn't know what to say. I can't be dreaming, right? Dong Wang Baiji held onto her forehead. Yi Hua, Qinya, don't the two of you feel anything? Wow! The spiritual energy has become a lot denser. Yi Hua cried out in surprise. As expected of someone who won the Best Male Lead Award. However, it has been a long time since I acted in a movie, so I'm a bit exaggerated. Qinya also felt it and cried out in surprise, this spiritual energy, that's right. The spiritual energy has revived. After finished speaking, Dong Huang Baiji looked towards Yi Hua, seemingly asking if he was the one who did the revival of spiritual energy. Yi Hua said indifferently, I was having sex with Qinya last night, you can ask her. Qinya didn't feel embarrassed, Yi Hua was with me the entire time last night. After hearing what Yi Hua said, Dong Huang Baiji felt a bit embarrassed and cast an apologetic gaze towards her husband. After all, the strength that Yi Hua displayed on Cerulean Planet was too strong, and Dong Huang Baiji could only think of this point. Yi Hua turned his head and looked towards the magpie that was in the sky. Suddenly, the magpie took a poop, and the poop actually covered the car that was in the middle of driving. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched. Luckily, I didn't say that I was the one who did it. This kind of consequence is out of my imagination. I will go back and deal with it first, everything is in a mess. After finished speaking, Dong Huang Baiji left the bedroom. Meanwhile, Yi Hua and Qinya just stood beside the window and looked at the magpie taking a poop. It was just like dropping a bomb, too scary. At this moment, Qin Yutong rushed into the bedroom. Brother-in-law, big sister, something big happened. Quickly come and look at the news. Yi Hua and Qinya walked downstairs, and Qinya's entire family could be seen watching the news with a shocked expression on their faces. For example, the tiger in the zoo turned into a terrifying giant beast. Although the monkey didn't become bigger, its speed was extremely fast, and the supermarket was already occupied by the monkey. The cruise ship was opened by an unknown creature, but fortunately, there were no casualties. Some people were able to push a car, and some people were able to destroy an ATM machine with a single punch. In any case, everything was in a mess. This is an unexpected thing. I definitely didn't expect that it would become like this. This is too exaggerated. I wonder if I can take back the spiritual energy, but I reckon that I won't be able to. setting a fire is easy, but putting it out is hard. Everything is in a mess. This is a financial crisis. We are going to go bankrupt. Qin Huaxian held onto his forehead and let out a long sigh. Qin Ye said in a low voice, Yi Hua, I have to go and help Baiji. I will leave my son to you to take care of him for a few days. Yutong, you come with me as well. After finished speaking, Qin Ye handed Yi Yan over to Yi Hua, then pulled his little sister upstairs and hurriedly rushed towards Voidless Realm. Before Yi Yan could even react, he had already arrived in his father's embrace. Does Mom not want me anymore? Mom threw me into an abyss of suffering, scared to the point that Yan had peed in his pants. Yi Hua's expression stiffened, and he felt a warm current flowing through his body. My son actually peed in his pants. Damn it. Yi Yan looked at his father embarrassedly. Your dad, you scared Yan, to the point that he peed in his pants. Don't blame me. Just as Yi Hua was preparing to go and change his clothes, a piece of news caught his attention. News from our station. Just a while ago, a group of people who call themselves the Justice Alliance stood out and used their powerful strength to help the people get rid of the scourge. At the same time, the same group of people appeared in various places, and they called themselves cultivators. Chapter 576. The TV screen just happened to switch to Wang Debao's face, who was killing a huge rat. With a swoosh, blood splattered everywhere. The camera was blurred, and he couldn't help but feel disgusted. A hand wiped the lens, and Wang Debao grinned. Welcome to the Righteous Alliance. We are a team that protects the safety of the world. We will go wherever there is danger. Bang! Before he could finish, he was snatched away by an eagle. Wife, save me. However, it was not just the Righteous Alliance. Many other people took this opportunity to recruit experts and maintain law and order. After all, they were all intelligent people. How could they give up on such a good opportunity? Qin Huaxian, who was originally frustrated, suddenly cried out in surprise. Seems like our company is going to change its line of work. Yi Hua carried his son and went upstairs to change his clothes. I feel that it is better for Voidless Realm to not get involved in this kind of matter. Even if Voidless Realm were to get involved in this matter, it wouldn't be of much use to them. This is a large-scale disaster, and it isn't something that a few thousand people from Voidless Realm would be able to solve. After putting on the diapers for his son and helping his son to put on his clothes, Yi Hua, the nanny father, finally let out a breath of relief. After that, Yi Hua began changing his clothes. Yi Yan sat on the bed and looked at his father with his big eyes. He didn't seem so fierce. It seemed like he wasn't a gift from someone who topped up his phone. After tying his son to his chest, Yi Hua prepared to go to Voidless Realm to take a look and give them some practical suggestions. In the desert outside of Voidless Realm, there was a huge poisonous scorpion that was crawling slowly, and there was also a huge cobra that was crawling on the ground. Inside Voidless Realm, Donghuang Baiji was currently discussing with Qin Ye about countermeasures. Qin Yutong's playful expression changed, and she gave the most sincere suggestion. At this moment, Yi Hua also appeared at the side. When the three women saw the way Yi Hua was dressed, the corners of their mouths twitched. Wasn't he a super nanny? When Qin Ye saw that her son stopped crying after being together with Yi Hua, she felt much more at ease. You all don't need to discuss anymore. A lot of cultivators have already stood out to resist, and it won't be long before the crisis is resolved. Yi Hua said faintly. The little guy, Yi Yan, sucked on his finger and watched curiously without making a fuss. Donghuang Baiji said gravely, even if the crisis within the city is resolved, what are we going to do about the crisis outside? For example, the animals within the desert have all evolved into spiritual beings. Yi Hua revealed an expression that said, you are all idiots. This is the law of nature. Do you intend to eliminate all dangers? Just you three women and the several thousand people from Voidless Realm? Dream on. Yi Hua ruthlessly struck down on her. I don't know what this woman is thinking about. Yi Hua's words dealt a huge blow to the three women. After pausing for a moment, Yi Hua said again, the revival of spiritual energy this time is a test for people. It also shows that we have entered a new era, and people have to adapt to the new era. It is the same for you guys. You guys are really stupid. Yi Yan, who was in his arms, nodded. There was nothing wrong with his father's words. When Qinya saw that her son was actually able to nod his head, she immediately felt that the situation wasn't good. I have only taught my son to Yi Hua for around 10 minutes, and my son is already being led astray. What are you doing? I will be taking care of the child for the next few days and nurture our relationship. Yi Hua refused to give the child to Qinya. This caused Qinya to become anxious, as if her husband was going to snatch the child away from her. Yi Hua, I still need someone to feed me milk. Qinya was fighting over Yi Hua, and Dong Huang Baiji and Qin Yutong were shaking their heads. I can feed them too. Yi Hua said gravely. Wow, brother-in-law, you still have this kind of ability? Qin Yutong cried out in surprise. Qinya, who was standing at the side, bit onto her lips and had a look of, if you don't give me my son, I will cry, on her face. You all continue with the meeting, I will bring my son out to play. After finished speaking, Yi Hua left. Qinya stomped her feet in anger. Dong Huang Baiji laughed lightly. Qinya, don't be angry, do you think that Yi Hua will be able to steal your son away? That's right, brother-in-law even knows how to feed, I am really curious how brother-in-law feeds his son. Qin Yutong began filling in the blanks in her mind. Let us continue to discuss about our future plans. Dong Huang Baiji retracted her smile and said solemnly. Qinya and Qin Yutong also became serious. We cannot be careless with this matter. Meanwhile, Yi Hua also gathered all of his subordinates at Leisure Bar and began the first meeting of the new year. The location of the meeting had already changed from Leisure Bar's toilet to Leisure Bar's main hall. This caused Wei Chang and Lai Gu to let out a sigh of relief. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Little honor. Everyone bowed down respectfully and shouted out loudly. Yi Yan, who was in Yi Hua's embrace, blinked his big eyes. Looking at his father's subordinates, Yi Yan's heart was filled with curiosity. Everyone, get up. Yi Hua said faintly. Thank you, your honor. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette, paused for a moment, then took it back. My son is still here, smoking doesn't seem to be too good. Sitting on the high chair, Yi Hua said faintly, you all should know about today's matter, right? All of Yi Hua's subordinates nodded their heads. Yesterday night, I felt that his honor definitely has a new plan. In the new year, there must be a new atmosphere. I, the Supreme Overlord, have given out spiritual energy as a red packet for the world. Your honor's great fortune, this will be a good fortune for mankind. All of Yi Hua's subordinates shouted out in unison once again, seemingly as if they had already thought of their lines beforehand. Yi Hua nodded his head, and Yi Yan, who was in Yi Hua's embrace, nodded his head as well, just that, Yi Hua didn't see it. Tell me, what is your goal for this year? It's over. His honor is going to start the test. Lai Gu and Yi Zizi immediately shut up. If I don't participate in this kind of test, I will be scolded if I don't speak well. Seeing that all of Yi Hua's subordinates were not speaking, Yi Hua had no choice but to call out names. Yi Zizi, tell me what I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to do in the future. Ah, Yi Zizi cried out in surprise. What are you doing, your honor? You know that I am very lazy, I am not suitable to answer questions. What Tell me. Yi Hua shouted out lightly. Yi Zizi puffed out her cheeks and said gloomily, His honor wants to unify the world. Everyone, isn't it just a matter of time for his honor to unify the world? As expected, I shouldn't have asked Yi Zizi. Looking at his honor's disappointed gaze, Yi Zizi lowered her head in grievance. It's not like I'm good at answering questions. Wei Chang, tell me what you think. Yi Hua said faintly. I feel that after the new year, all of my subordinates are stupefied. Wei Chang paused for a moment, then took a step forward and said respectfully, His honor wants to use the same old trick again. Am I, the Supreme Overlord, such a senseless person? Would I use the same trick again after using it once? Yi Hua's brows wrinkled, he was very dissatisfied. All of Yi Hua's subordinates sensed his honor's dissatisfaction and began to become nervous. Zhu Tian felt that it was time for him to tell his honor. However, Brett hastened his pace as he bowed down and said, his honor's goal should be Justice Alliance. Brett is smarter than all of you, at the very least, he is able to point out the root of the problem. Yi Hua said gravely. All of Yi Hua's subordinates lowered their heads and remained silent as they listened to his honor's lecture. I didn't expect that the first meeting of the new year would be like this. Brett hurriedly knelt on the ground with a terrified expression. This subordinate deserves to die. All right, you can go now. I'll inform you to go on a blind date. Remember. I'm not asking for your permission. Subordinate will listen to your honor's arrangements. Brett felt that his honor didn't seem to be joking, thus, he could only agree to it. Yi Hua waved his hand, and Brett bowed and retreated a few steps. After that, Brett disappeared from the hall. Pinching onto his son's cheeks, Yi Hua let out a breath. Every time I see Brett sitting at the side by himself and separated from the group, I will feel unhappy. This time, he also planned to suppress Brett, but where should he go to find the male lead? What a problem. Yi Yan suddenly shouted. Yi Hua carried on to his son, and the father and son pair looked at each other deeply. After a while, Yi Hua asked, hungry? The little fellow nodded his head. Yi Hua had no choice but to send the little fellow to Voidless Realm first. Just now, I wanted to feed my son spicy gluten, but unfortunately, I don't have any teeth. Seems like I have to learn how to make milk. 1 month passed by in the blink of an eye, and Yi Yan was now 1 month old. The little fellow was a bit mischievous now, and he had already learned how to walk when he was around 10 days old. Big sister Dong Huangli had been playing with little brother in Voidless Realm every day, causing a lot of chaos. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji were having a headache. In the beginning, everyone only felt that the two little princes were mischievous, but after a while, the two princes weren't just mischievous at all, they were simply the kings of destruction. Right now, the two siblings were currently standing in front of their mother with their heads lowered. The two siblings' faces were dirty, and it was clear that they had just done something bad. There were even chicken feathers on Yi Yan's head. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji looked at their children with a stern expression. Yi Hua sat at the side and drank his tea leisurely. The two siblings would send a distress signal to him from time to time. Daddy, save me. In the past, Yi Yan would often shout for Mommy to save me, but right now, it had completely changed. Mommy is the real culprit, and Daddy is the warmest. Ah Li. What's going on with you, bringing your little brother to cause trouble? Dong Huang Baiji started lecturing. Dong Huangli lowered her head and looked at her toes. Qingye reprimanded, Yan, how did Mommy teach you? You are already 1 month old, yet you are still so immature. Yi Hua almost sprayed out the tea that he was drinking. Isn't the demand a bit too high? How can a child be mature after 1 month old? Yi Yan muttered in a low voice. You still dare to talk back to me? Qingye, who had a bad temper, immediately took out a feather duster. Seeing that his mother was going to fly into a rage, Yi Yan immediately pounced into his father's embrace. Daddy, Mommy is going to hit me again. Yi Hua placed down the teacup and said faintly, Qingye, your demand is too high. Yan, is still so young. Yi Yan nodded his head. Mommy's demand is too high, she actually wants me to memorize poems, write poems, and other random things right now. I am only 1 month old, other people's children are still sleeping in the cradle when they are 1 month old. Qingye snorted coldly, Yi Hua. Don't protect Yan, see if I don't beat him to death today. Dong Huangli couldn't help but laugh secretly, and her mother just happened to see her laughing. Ah Li. You are still laughing. Dong Huang Baiji could be seen taking out a feather duster. Dong Huangli imitated her little brother and pounced into her father's embrace. Daddy, Mommy is going to use domestic violence, you too, enough. How can there be mothers like you two, hitting children for no reason. Yihua's expression turned cold. Even I can't bear to hit the two of them. Qingye snorted, then shook the feather duster. Tonight, Yihua let out a cold laugh. To actually use this kind of thing to threaten me, do you two think that I will compromise? Ali, Yen, will the two of you listen to Daddy's words? Yihua asked seriously, as if he was going to bring the two little fellows away from home. Dong Huangli and Yi Yen nodded their heads vigorously. All right then, listen to Daddy's words and just hit Mommy a few times. Dong Huangli, Yi Yen, while holding on to the feather duster, Qingye and Dong Wang Baiji walked over with a strange smile on their faces, scaring the two little fellows to the point that they started trembling. Little brother runs fast. Dong Huangli pulled onto her little brother and ran out. Chapter 578. You two, don't be so strict. Children at this age should naturally play around. Yihua persuaded carefully. In the past, you two even said that you two are the same. Qingye laughed. You can't be like this. Children need to be educated from a young age. Look at Yen, he has been making noise everywhere, and Ali has been led astray by Yen, Dong Huangli doted on her little brother quite a bit, and sometimes, she even helped her little brother to take the blame. It's really good to have this kind of elder sister. It's normal for a boy to be a bit naughty. Yihua sighed lightly. If Yen, was like a girl and didn't make noise, Yihua wouldn't like it. Dong Wang Baiji nodded her head. What Yihua said is right, don't be too strict. You too. Qingye snorted, then sat down and drank her tea. Let's talk about proper business. Recently, that Justice Alliance has been in the limelight. Dong Wang Baiji sat beside Yihua and poured herself a cup of tea. Dong Wang Baiji was a bit irritated. This Justice Alliance had recruited quite a lot of people in this 1 month, and they had even obtained the Good Citizen Award. They had been killing spirit creatures everywhere, restoring order to all the big cities. The problem was, a lot of families had withdrawn from the management of the big powers, some joined the Justice Alliance, and some even established their own families. In short, they did not want to be managed by the big powers anymore. However, Voidless Realm and Ing family both remained silent, giving people a kind of misconception, as if they were tacitly agreeing to this situation, causing even more families to withdraw from the big powers. Other than Justice Alliance, another organization called Peace Association emerged, and they could be counted as the two most snobbish and powerful organizations right now. They didn't differentiate between North and South, and they would go wherever there was trouble. Voidless Realm and Ing family seemed to have faded out of people's sight. In the past, people didn't even mention these two big powers, and right now, newcomers didn't even know that these two big powers existed. Furthermore, in this short 1 month, more and more regulations were introduced one after another. It couldn't be helped, they had to adapt to the new environment. For young people, such a world was too exciting. It was just like a fantasy world in a novel. They could practice powerful martial arts and fly in the sky. They could destroy the world with a wave of their hands and feet. They could be a peerless hero or a devil incarnate. Some businessmen were also looking for business opportunities. They opened various academies and hired experts from the cultivation world to be teachers. The whole world was slowly moving towards a new height, and the benefits still outweighed the disadvantages. The corresponding ranking system would also be introduced in a month's time. The entire world would be unified to prevent chaos. The stars, moons, and suns were used to determine the levels of strength. The 5 stars were upgraded to the moon and the 5 moons were upgraded to the sun. It was simple and easy to understand. However, one shouldn't underestimate this power level. This was the result that all the experts came up with. Right now, there weren't any Sun-class elites in the world, and there were very few Sun-class elites in March or April. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were only 2 moons and 4 stars. Feng Tian was a 4 moons expert and could be considered an influential figure. Qing Tian had also been tested and was also a 4 moons expert. However, Feng Tian and the others did not believe that Qing Tian was deliberately suppressing his strength. With 4 moons imprinted on his chest, he would be respected when he walked out. Now, people would look at his chest first and not at his money. Because, no matter how much money one had, one would still have to kneel down and lick a powerful cultivator. Furthermore, people nowadays like to form parties to fight monsters. After all, the bodies of those animals were all treasures that could be made into spiritual artifacts. There were even some people who found some caves that were guarded by powerful demons. It felt like they were fighting a dungeon, just that, there was only one chance to fight a dungeon like this, and if one was slightly careless, one would lose their life. Those who didn't have a bit of strength could only watch from the sidelines, not daring to move. Meanwhile, the desert outside of Voidless Realm was already classified as a forbidden area. There were too many ferocious beasts in that place, and if one were to come here, one would basically die. Furthermore, the sea was rather dangerous as well. Without a few powerful figures guarding the sea, no one would dare to go out to sea. I really don't know what you two are worried about. What does the strength of the Justice and Order Alliance have to do with us? You two just have to do your own part. Why are you two still caring about other people's opinion? Yihua couldn't understand the 2 women. After all, Dong Huang Baiji had been an empress for so long, and right now, she was worried about personal gains and losses. In the past, she controlled the entire north, but now? Since other people don't even give a damn about them, how could they possibly feel comfortable? Furthermore, other powers were gradually becoming bigger and bigger, and they had obtained everyone's acknowledgement, causing Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji to feel sullen. In other words, he was unhappy and displeased. Hearing Yihua's words, Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji became like a deflated balloon and became dispirited. You two, in the past, you two didn't fight for anything, and now that someone else is fighting for something, you two are acting like this. Hee, women. Yihua teased his 2 wives to his heart's content, expressing that he was feeling very good. Dong Huang Baiji refuted, "It's all because you didn't allow it. What are you 2 women trying to do? Don't you know how to keep a low profile? Why don't you learn from me? As a mother, shouting about killing every day, what a scandal. This is the jealousy that comes from a woman. Even Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji have this kind of bad habit." The 2 wives pouted and remained silent. Luckily, the little fellows weren't present. If not, their image would definitely be ruined if they saw their mother acting like this. Rest assured, Voidless Realm will forever be a big power. This is something that no one can change. They are just consoling themselves. Yihua said faintly, then walked out of the room. He wanted to let the 2 women calm down. Because there was going to be a big show today, and Yihua was going to join in the fun. Other than Zhu Tian, everyone knew about this. And that was Brett's blind date. It was today. Blind date. Gold Raider Colonel Do Fusher. Wei Chang was truly unable to find a reliable person, and he only heard from Death Mage that there was such a person who was rather reliable. Actually, the Blood Demon had wanted to put on a show at the start and act as the matchmaker. What if the show turned out to be real? Brett was so beautiful, so sexy, so compatible with the Blood Demon. They were a perfect match. At the start, Yihua only had this choice, but the sudden appearance of Do Fusher made Yihua change his view. After all, Do Fusher was an outsider, and this was much better. Do Fusher was also very surprised. Ever since he separated from his big brother and sister-in-law, Do Fusher started doing his old profession of catching ghosts. As for digging up tombs, forget about it, those tombs are all for scamming children. Suddenly, Big Brother looked for me and said that I have a very important mission, and after I complete it, I can join the group. There's a power outage today, there's a power outage today. This is so depressing. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.